Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 12th day of December in the year 2022. This is a city council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 o'clock start, and the clock on my cell phone is showing 4:03 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley will be absent. Councilperson Prinzary.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh is not here yet. Councilperson Solomon's not here yet. Councilperson Gilmore is not here yet. Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
You have we actually have 6 council members in attendance at 4:03. Councilperson Gilmore is here. And Councilperson Solomon is here. So now we have 8 council members in attendance at 4:03 p.m. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with the Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is scheduled of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2022, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, October 28th, 2021. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, December 9th, 2022 at 4:35 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Please be advised that we are now live streaming all City Council caucuses and meetings through Microsoft Teams. The links are located on our website and actually on the electronic agenda. Council President, before I turn it over to you, I just wanted to say a nice, happy belated birthday to our councilperson, Prinzary. So I don't know if you want to, I don't know if you want to sing happy birthday to her. Who's going to lead us? No one wants to sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mira.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, with that being said, on a happy note, we're going to turn it over to the council president.
Good afternoon. Well, this is our last caucus for the year. Don't you want to clap? Yay! Well, first up is Director Shea.
Good evening, Council President, council members. The Department of Public Safety has 2 resolutions this evening. The first one is agenda item 10.15, resolution 22-860. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to AAA Emergency Supply for the purchase and delivery of hoses for the fire trucks for the Department of Public Safety. These are replacement hoses. The contract's in the amount of $25,860. It went out to bid, and this is the bid that was approved by the purchasing department. Thank you, ma'am. The next resolution is agenda number 10.20. It's resolution 22-865. It's a resolution approving the appointment of per diem municipal prosecutors for the Jersey City Municipal Court. It will approve the appointments of 4 members of the Corporation Council office to serve also as per diem prosecutors for the municipal court. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, council members.
Evening, President Waterman, members of the council. I have 11 resolutions before you today. First one is Resolution 22-859, number 1014. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Millennium Communications to provide upgrades to the access control system at the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security Facility and the Emergency Operations Center located at 715 Summit Avenue. Total amount of the contract is $51,017.05, and it's funded through the 2021 UASI grant. Next one is 22-892, 10.47. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to McCabe Environmental Services, LLC, to abate asbestos conditions at JCFD Engine 5 Ladder 6 Fire Station. The total amount of the contract is $31,076. Third is Resolution 22-902, 10.57. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Morton Salt Company through its cooperative agreement between Jersey City and Hudson County. Provide rock salt for the Department of Public Works, Division of Sanitation. Total amount of the contract is $800,000. Next is 22-907, 10.62. The resolution will authorize the award of a contract to A. Lembo Car and Heavy Truck Collision for maintenance and repair of heavy-duty vehicles under the state contract for the Department of Public Works, Division of Automotive Maintenance. Total amount of contract is $400,000. Next is 22-908, 10.63. The resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Route 23 Auto Mall, LLC, for the purchase of a 22 F550 regular cab truck under the New Jersey State contract for the Department of Public Works, Division of Automotive. Total amount of the contract is $62,055. Next, Resolution 22-909, 10.64. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to F&S Tire Corporation for the purchase and delivery of various tires under the state contract for the Department of Public Works, Division of Automotive Maintenance. Total amount of the contract is $250,000. Next is Resolution 22-910, 10.65. Resolution will award a contract to Samuels Trading as Buywise Auto Parts for the purchase and delivery of non-OEM automotive parts and accessories for light-duty vehicles under the state contract for the Department of Public Works, Division of Automotive Maintenance. Total amount of the contract is $300,000. 22-911, 1066. Resolution will authorize award of a contract to Cooper Friedman Electric Company, DBA is Cooper Electric, for the purchase and delivery of electrical supplies for the Senior Center project located up in Central Avenue through the New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, Bergen County Co-op for the Department of Public Works, Division of Buildings and Street Maintenance. Total amount of the contract is $129,949.15. Next is resolution award, that's 22-912, 1067. Resolution will award a contract to Dow Tile Distribution for the purchase and delivery of various tiles and setting materials for the City Hall project, first and third floors, for the Department of Public Works, Division of Buildings and Street Maintenance. Total amount of the contract, $24,690.63.
I did have a question about this one, Director. Just what specifically is are these the kind of which tiles are being replaced? What's sort of the scope of the project?
They're matching the exact tiles currently in place.
So they're sort of being done to replicate the historic tiles on the floors. You said it was 24K?
$24,690.63.
Great, thank you.
Resolution 22-913, 1068. Resolution will authorize a month-to-month extension not to exceed 3 months effective December 19, 22. A contract with Amber Air to provide HVAC and boiler maintenance for the Department of Public Works, Division of Buildings and Street Maintenance. Amount of the contract is $5,000. And the last is Resolution 22-914, 1069. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Continental Hardware Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of various masonry supplies for the de-escalation/pistol range project with a cooperative agreement between the City of Jersey City and Hudson County for the Department of Public Works, Division of Building and Street Maintenance. Total amount of that contract is $300,000 with a temporary encumbrance of that $100,000. That's it. Thank you very much.
Stacy?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here to present on Ordinance 310, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement between the City of Jersey City Housing Authority Garden State Community Development Corporation and the City of Jersey City for the property at 514 Newark Avenue for the purpose of providing services to people experiencing homelessness. As you may know, last year we bonded for 514 Newark Avenue to host a center that expands the work that Garden State Episcopal does. In order to do that, the City of Jersey City has to be responsible for the property. This allows the Jersey City Housing Authority to negotiate with HUD to allow us to make those edits to the building to be more COVID responsible and have more people getting services in a timely manner.
Yeah, first of all, I want this pulled, and I'm talking on behalf of Dickinson High School, St. Joseph's, Hudson Community Hudson Community Gardens, and people in the neighborhood. We have enough problems there, and I'm going to read just a few statements here. The Hudson Garden tenants were not made aware of this. Garden State Community Development has been leasing space there for many years and has never reached out to the tenants of Hudson Gardens. Why is the drop-off center for the homeless in our building? People want to know. I have a whole list of things here. Some of them are going to come here on Wednesday night. We have enough in the neighborhood. We have enough problems with Garden State Episcopal. We have enough problems with them bringing in homeless people, pissing on the street, pooping on the street, and hanging around, smoking drugs and everything. And I think there's other places in the city away from a place like Hudson Gardens, which people there are old, many of them are seniors, they're low income, and they don't want it. And I think it's a shame that the city is going to put something like this in there. Now, the one thing they told me when they did away with one apartment about a year ago, there was a woman there. She had a handicapped child. She had to leave there. They put her someplace else. Now they want to take 3 more apartments. The people, the community do not want this there. There are other sections of this city that can take this, like maybe a little bit further towards, not downtown, but the sections of Ward C, Ward D, or other wards that can handle this, away from where people live. The people in Hudson Gardens are tired of what's going on. And Hudson Garden State Episcopal is no friend to the community of the Hilltop. None whatsoever. So, Stacy, I love you, and you know how I feel about you, but this does not belong there. They do not want it, and I'm speaking for the people, many, many, many people in this community and this area. And the people of Ward C are tired. We're putting up with all this development. We're putting up with no parking. We're putting up the conditions of the streets. We're tired of it. And this is another thing that people are violently against. And Stacy, I want this postponed. I want it pulled. And you had told me, well, we had meetings. I've been to one meeting a year and a half ago. Hudson Gardens has not been advised. I spoke to the president of the tenant association. We spoke to many of the tenants there, and they're quite annoyed.
So I want to make it very clear. This is just us taking over the lease. Garden State Episcopal is not managed through the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services. Any support for Garden State Episcopal comes through the city, through the Division of Community Development. And if there are concerns about their outcomes and measurements and their output, I think that's a different discussion. This is allowing us to, there's currently not enough space. And the Jersey City Housing Authority did take 1 apartment offline. They need the lease to move forward. This is allowing us to open up the senior lunch program a little bit more there. We have other, plans for Hudson Gardens and the work that we do at Health and Human Services. This is simply like expanding the footprint because the footprint already is too small. So if there is a concern about the contract work that they are doing for the city, that's a different conversation. This is simply for the city to take over the portion of that lease so that we can do the work to fix the area so that there is like not overcrowding. We're not bringing new people. We're keeping the people inside so they're not outside because there's no room due to social distancing in this particular place. And if anybody's visited Garden State Episcopal, you would note that there's very limited space and there's not a lot of privacy for the current work that's happening.
Well, Stacy, as far as I'm concerned, this has to be pulled and we have to sit down. We're going to sit down with the residents of the Hudson Gardens and a couple of the other people from the community because we understand they want to take 3 more apartments. They want to have showers there. We have enough problems with them bringing them into our neighborhood. I feel sorry for the homeless. I want to see something done for the homeless, but that does not belong there. We have enough problems in the area right now with what the Garden State Episcopal does. They bring them in by bus in the morning. They hang around the neighborhood. They cause problems for the seniors and problems for the people. And there's no police protection. And the gardens, like there's so many issues in the gardens right now because they're not being properly maintained. So I think we have to pull this. I'm asking for it to be pulled, and we're going to have to sit down and discuss this a lot more.
So next is Resolution 1029. It seems as though there was a glitch and there's a duplicative resolution and not one of them that we wanted to present today. So we'll be presenting that on January 14th. So resolution accepting a grant. Oprah's going to talk about 1028. So 1029 is duplicative and should be pulled.
So I want to go back to.
Okay.
So are we, is the plan to pull that or?
That's your decision. I'm presenting you with any questions you have related to the lease agreement. I have nothing to do with the performance of the Garden State.
That's
All right,
true.
so I have questions. So for the money, point one, is for the alterations.
Mhm.
So it says it's gonna be a first and second floor combo, right?
It's a 2-part phase 1 and phase 2. So yeah, there's the space in the middle. I think you might not. I'll double check to see the information that you have because this may have been passed before you were seated as a council person. But there's a complex plan to how to utilize space that's actually not being utilized on the other side of Garden State Episcopal, which includes a kitchen, bathrooms, and the computer lab. And it was to move the computer lab so that we can expand the services and support for homeless.
These are for services that we already currently offer, correct?
I'm going to say 80% is already offered. What we do right now is we bring one of the health buses, one of the hygiene/homeless outreach buses up to 514 pretty regularly, if not daily. I don't know, Cynthia, is it daily? It's daily with showers and laundry services and a place to do additional support for people that are on the waiting list at Garden State Episcopal where there's not been movement to find out what's going on, to have like a safe place for the homeless to talk to us because there's actually no more room inside so that we can go back to the Division of Community Development. They house the HIMIS system, which is like the internal system that works with Garden State. And so we double check with the person that runs the programming for homeless prevention where those clients are. If they tell us that they're on the list, then we double check to see if they're on a list and what kind of services they're waiting for and what's the holdup. And typically what we do from there is we support with other referrals to make sure that they can like break through that holdup. And so that's what our team does from the outreach side to make sure that Garden State can continue moving those people into housing.
And you guys are looking to do alterations. Are we losing any units from inside Hudson Gardens?
One apartment is offline, so that's the piece that the Jersey City Housing Authority received approval for that one apartment to be offline to do other services to get more people housing.
There's 3 more supposedly going to be coming out, 3 more
No,
apartments.
no, very
Stacy.
clearly, it's one department.
Why don't we postpone this and sit down in about a couple of weeks and sit down and talk about this issue and speak to the people in Hudson Gardens?
Yeah, we did do a follow-up with the Hilltop. They asked us a series of questions. We sent them all of our answers. I think at that time, Director Gandula was on the DCD side. We have done the follow-up. It's just that this is now finally moving to the lease. It's just Jersey City taking over the lease versus the housing authority charging Garden State Episcopal. We're going to charge them, and we're expanding the footprint. So that's
You know, Tracy, the best part about this whole thing is,
just the lease.
so, you know,
Yeah, sorry, Councilman, can I jump in for a second? So from Councilman Bozziano and his staff, that listed some concerns from the Hudson Garden Tenants Association, issues with doors, better lighting, security. I mean, is it?
Those are not items that
No,
the
no.
city is.
I understand that the taking over the lease
Yeah.
is tangential to that, but we have obviously a month between first and second
Right.
meetings.
Yeah.
Maybe the thing where, Councilman Bozziano, Health Department, Garden State, Hudson Gardens can all have, could make a commitment to all sit down together and.
Yeah,
look
I
at
don't
all
think
these
this has,
issues before
like,
the council
I don't
has a
think
second
this-
reading vote on this.
I think what they need to do, meet with Housing Authority.
Yes.
Right,
That's
so
what
they-
they need to do.
Yeah,
Because based
so-
on
In
what's
Garden
not-
State and everybody.
Canceled. The meeting was follow-up meeting was supposed to be December 7th. The meeting was canceled. We have scheduled to meet with the Tenants Association about many other things that the health department does in partnership. This hasn't come up. So we'll have that conversation, but we do expect before the end of the month to have additional conversations with the Tenant Association. We're just waiting for their meeting date.
Stacy, it's not only the tenants association, it's the whole neighborhood, Stacy. You got the schools, you have kids from the Dickinson High School hanging around there, and you have these people urinating out in the street in public. And I've had Shay up there a couple of times. He says, but he goes up at the wrong times. This does not belong there. You have St. Joseph's there, you have Dickinson High School there.
Yeah.
You have people shopping in the area there that are abused by these people. And it's something like this belongs in an area where there's
But it's already there. So
Yeah,
what
I
we're
know,
trying
and
to
it's
do is
causing
get the
us
people that
problems.
you're saying are outside, inside with extra space. So they're
Okay,
not outside,
okay,
they're
this
inside.
is enough now. Okay, what we need to do, to be perfectly honest, is meet with Housing Authority, because based on his concern, this have a lot of housing issues, because if the doors don't work, the heating's not right,
Right,
the
and
water's
I
not
think I
right,
can.
that's housing. Okay,
Yes.
so then what we need to
Yeah.
do is meet with housing. This is the first reading,
Correct.
okay? This is the first reading.
I
So
think-
during the time, could you please?
Yeah.
During the time, okay, because we won't come back
Right.
until
I
next
know
year
the meeting is
with this.
scheduled to either December 20th or
Okay.
21st. I just don't have a formal date.
Okay. All right.
I will say that Director Brady Phillips offered to come. I did share the concern about the locks and things, and those are things that have not been brought up to her either.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we have time, okay?
Mhm.
So at the end of the month, whenever the date is, just let us know, Stacy, okay? And this way here, at least 2 or 3 of us can be at the community meeting.
Sure.
And this way here, we can answer Councilman Bojani concerns. That's it.
Okay, great.
We'll introduce this, but after
Yep.
that, we'll see what we'll do.
And then the next one I'll present after I mentioned the 1028 and 1029 are duplicative, so we're going to pull 1029. The 1030 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City accepting a licensing agreement between the city and the Metropolitan Health Centering Healthcare Institute. So I just want to explain this a little bit. We are partnering with Metropolitan Health. They are one of our partners in the WIC program, our Women, Infant, and Children Supplemental Food Program. They are starting a centering program for women who are pregnant to make sure they get the appropriate wraparound services. The Department of Health and Human Services would be the partner on that for them to get this grant. It's a small grant. It's like a few $1,000s. We need to go into an MOU with the Institute to ensure that there's an anchor institution here in Jersey City. It is something our WIC program believes will improve the services and outreach with the individuals that are current patients and new patients at Metropolitan Health, which is one of our federally qualified health centers.
Okay. Any questions? No, that's it.
Okay, great.
McNair?
Schools.
Good evening, council.
Evening.
I have 3 items. The first item is 1022. This is resolution 22-867. This is a resolution authorizing the renewal contract between the city, New Jersey City, and Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield for 1 year, January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, to provide a closed dental insurance plan for eligible employees.
Questions? Next.
The second item is 10.23. This is resolution number 22-868. This is also a resolution renewing the contract between the city and Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield for the open dental insurance plan for 1 year contract for eligible employees.
Okay.
The last item number is 10.24, resolution 22-869. This is a resolution authorizing the contract to the P&A Administrative Services. This is a third-party administration to facilitate our COBRA billing, retiree billing, and the flexible spending account claims. This did go out for a bid. It is a 1 year contract from January 1st to December 31st, 2023.
Ask you something. When we deal with our benefits, I see we got a year-to-year contract. Would it be cheaper if we have a 3-year contract?
So we are adjusting the RFPs to include, 2 years or even 3-year contract as opposed to doing the 1 year. We are making those changes.
We save.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Council President,
Go ahead.
you done?
Yes, I'm done.
I'm so sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. Just for the record, I misspoke before. We at 4:03 when we started, we actually had 7 council members in attendance, and at 4:13 p.m., Councilperson Saleh arrived. So now we have 8 council members in attendance.
Maynard?
Good afternoon, Council President and council members.
No.
I have one resolution in front of you. It's agenda number 10.33, resolution number 22-878. It's a resolution providing local support for a Golden Dispensary located at 638 Newark Avenue to operate a Class 5 retail cannabis business. They received planning board approval on March 28th, the CCB approval on October 17th, and they also have an MOU with the New Jersey Reentry Program, and they're committing 2% of their net profits.
Where's this thing?
That's not mine. I think it's C. I think it's further up C.
Where's the address for this?
638 Newark Avenue.
You guys don't stop, do you?
Questions? Just want you to know it's in your area.
It's by Cafe Peanut.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
I
By
just want
by Freetown Road.
I wasn't sure if it was James' area or his.
Wait.
Mine. Deja.
Good evening, council. I'm here for agenda number 10.35, resolution 22-880. The Division of Community Development is respectfully requesting the council to approve a First Amendment to our agreement with Civitas LLC, which was dated on February 25th, 2022. DCD and our staff has determined that it's necessary to amend this agreement to reflect an additional amount not to exceed $3,999 for a new contract total amount of $43,999 to continue to provide HUD grant management and CARES Act program implementation and duplication of benefits assistance. We have performed our due diligence in verifying that Civitas LLC satisfies the HUD program requirements and does have the requisite experience and expertise to assist the city in the implementation of said programs.
What number was that again, Deja?
It's agenda item 10.35.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe and Diane?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Diane.
Another one.
I'm from the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency, for anybody who doesn't know that. I'm here on ordinance 22-111, also with counsel to the Redevelopment Agency, Joe Bauman, who can answer some questions if you have any. This is as you know, we're in the process of redeveloping the Lowe's Theater. We're getting ready to start construction in February, hopefully. And we're requesting a transfer of the deed from the Lowe's to the JCRA. This will enable us to put together, we are receiving a transfer of land from the developer of 808 Pavonia, and a transfer of the deed for the Lowe's to the JCRA will enable us to facilitate the project and go procure vendors and other contractors to work on the project. It would be very doing so with half the property with the Lowe's Theater owned by the city, and the donation of land that will form the loading dock from 808 Pavonia would make it more difficult for us to facilitate this redevelopment process. The other component here is a contingent, it's a $15 million to cover a guarantee. That is, as you know, we've put together a capital stack to help fund this project. The tax credit investors are requesting that we have this guarantee, so we're asking the city to back the JCRA once the land is donated to
What
us.
number item?
3.9.
Yeah, Diana.
Wait, James.
Oh,
has
sorry.
something. Go ahead.
I'm
That's okay. So on that last point, the financing director, if you could just explain in greater detail, what does it mean that, I guess you've put together the capital stack? Could you just say what that means? And then how does the city guaranteeing it mean? Does that, when would we be on the hook for paying that money? In what set of circumstances?
Well, you'd be on the hook for paying that money in the event that the cost overruns exceeded even the contingency that we've counted on, which is 10 million. We don't foresee that being really ever coming to fruition, but it's a requirement that, for example, the new market tax credit investor is requesting or requiring in order to get the tax credits.
And just could you outline what is the capital stack? So I guess what's the budget and who's paying for it?
The capital stack, well, Joe, if you want to come up and talk in more detail, who's paying for it? Well, the capital stack is how we get the financing. You mean who are the individual members of the capital? Like, where's all the buckets of money coming from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay. You want
Diana, hold it.
Wait a minute, he got to answer.
Oh, okay.
Got it. Come on, Joe.
I'm not leaving, so
Just
for you.
You got to answer his question.
Councilman, so the capital stack consists of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority tax credits we are awarded. So the way you monetize tax credits is you have to find an investor who buy the tax credits for us. So that's a significant part of the capital stack. So the investors will buy the tax credits that we are awarded. And then the city of Jersey City is kicking in funds, the developers kicking in funds. And then this guarantee is basically for potential cost overruns, which, as the director said, are not currently expected. We already have a $10 million contingency built into the cost.
And sorry, when you say we on the tax credits, who is we there?
The tax credit investors.
They're the ones investing. We said we got the tax credit.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Jersey City Redevelopment Agency applied to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority.
Got it.
And we are awarded $42 million tax.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, and so those tax credits, we have to sell them to bring proceeds to the project.
Got it. Makes sense. So if you do, in the very unlikely event, we exceed the contingency and you do have to authorize this money, does that come back to the council for the issuance of these bonds?
It does not.
So the JCRA could just then, or the administration could then.
The administration. Okay.
Is there a way to just make sure that we could write something in that the council gets notice if this does happen? So if for some reason the contingency is hit, that the council's notified and we'll
commit to make sure you're notified. And I think it also provides, if we get the money, we don't need it, we return it. That's built into the ordinance.
Okay, great. And if we could write that in, that'd be great somewhere. I don't know how that gets written in.
Notice. It's already in there. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Diana, here's another issue, neighborhood issue. The people, the Friends of the Lowies. I've been very involved with the Lowies for 15, 20 years. And the Friends of the Lowies were never notified on any of this that's going on. And they should have been. They're a very integral part of this project. And secondly, when they came along, I believe it's the Devils that are coming in to put the money up or going to be doing part of the rebuilding. The taxpayers really weren't putting up that much money. Now we're spending almost $25 million. I have two issues. One, sit down and speak to the people, the Friends of the Lowies, or I want this one pulled also. And secondly, enough is enough with the spending. The Devils were going to do what I understood a year ago, a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago. They were spending most of the money. Now all of a sudden it's Jersey City. And, tax increases we just had and the problems we just had, I think enough's enough.
Well, on the issue of the Friends of the Lows, so we meet with FOL on a regular basis, which we've been doing since the very beginning. We meet with them weekly. We have meetings with the mayor with them. They're fully informed of every step in the process. We have negotiated an agreement between them and the Devils so that they can continue to participate in the theater in a robust way. It's a little disappointing that they called you and not us on this, because to us this was an administrative move that we wanted to get done so that we would be ensured of getting on the agenda. We certainly, since we meet with them weekly, we are certainly going to talk to them about this. It's not going to change the deal that they have in any way with the Devils or with the city or the JCRA. They're still going to get everything that we have negotiated for them, which is considerable. They're going to get dedicated days in the theater where they can put on their performances. They're going to get, we've put an enormous amount of effort into getting them storage facility, giving them an alternative office. We consider them to be partners. So there's really no reason for them to be alarmed by this in any way. And we will certainly, this is an ordinance, so it gets 2 readings. We'll certainly meet with them, the next time that we have a meeting scheduled, and we'll explain all this to them. I'm sure that they'll.
Diane, when I saw this, I called a couple of them up. They said they knew nothing about it, number one. Secondly, they said also they have not heard a word from the Devils. I know you're saying you're having meetings every week. Of course, they certainly knew nothing about this, and they should be kept informed. I mean, they've kept that theater open for the last 30 years. They've done a fantastic job. And as far as I'm concerned, they're the prime asset.
I reject that. I reject any kind of suggestion that they haven't been kept informed. Like I said, we meet with them on a regular basis every week. We talk to them, we email them. What they're talking about with the Devils is that we negotiated an agreement on behalf of the Friends with the Devils, and we're waiting for the Devils to return comments. That's all. We're just waiting for the Devils to return comments, but it's really disappointing to hear them characterize our relationship that way, because we have done so much with them and for them. So, and we will continue to do so.
I spoke to them today and they knew nothing about it. So.
I hear that you spoke to them today and that they had some complaints about this, but like I continue to assert, that's rather disappointing considering the efforts that we've gone to make sure that their interests are protected.
People are coming into Ward C, they're doing all these things, and they really don't communicate with the communities, and they don't with the community organizations. They don't communicate. Like the Friends of the Lowies, person told me today they knew nothing about this. So why would they lie to me? You speak.
I don't know. Let's just move on. Maybe they missed the meeting. I don't know. I don't know. It could have happened. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Agnes.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Agnes Theodosio, Director of Program Director DCD. I have only one resolution to present to you today. Agenda number 10.36, Resolution 22881. This resolution is respectfully requesting authorization to execute the Affordable Housing Trust contract and 95.5 recapture funds for our contract with Domus Corporation for the apartments at St. Lucy's. This is a new construction project that's located on 610-620 Grove Street in Jersey City. Back in May 2019, the developer requested the funding. It was approved by our Affordable Housing Trust Committee. The total amount is for $2,174,000, and that's broken down by Affordable Housing Trust Fund, $1,974,000, and for 95.5 recapture funds in amount of $200,000. What we will get in return, we will get 15 units for affordable housing units at 50 AMI, and those would be SROs, meaning single room occupancy.
So the capture funds from the 95.5 is 200,000, correct?
200,000. Those will be funded for demolition funds.
And those are for the 95.5 houses that have already been sold already?
No, we still have funds in it. We still are, I think at this point, about, I want to say 600,000 left. So we still can use those funds in the similar way that we use Affordable Housing Trust funds.
Oh,
So there's still some left, so we can use those.
So it's already funds that's sitting there.
They are sitting there that have been sitting for a while, so why not use them?
I got some suggestions.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear.
Agnes, let me ask you this question. I know your department, Deja left. I should have really asked her since you talking about affordable housing trust fund money. When we lend money to different organizations to help build affordable housing, that is just like a grant. We just give that money away. We don't have nothing in there to say they have to pay us back 2%, 1%.
No, generally this is the Affordable Housing Trust Funds. It's a loan. So the contractual instruments that we signed with them, as well as the mortgage and the restrictions, is in the form of a loan.
Yeah.
But we have the right to ask them to repay.
We do.
Just never do it.
So why don't
no
we?
interest in the previous ones. There was no interest charged. The new contracts I have revised since, and I do have percentage in case they do not complete their obligations to us, then there is percentage. But this is all for the new contracts.
Okay.
But generally, when they received Affordable Housing Trust Fund is in the form of a loan that we do not ask them to repay. However, it's not a grant. It's not the same as home or CDBG, which is like a grant. We have the right at our options, at option City of Jersey City, to ask them to repay at the end of affordability period. So for example, with a...
Okay, let me ask you something.
Yes.
So, because I know there's a lot of them here today, and I'm really not trying to hold this meeting long. Okay, moving forward, can we request that they pay at least 1 or 2% back? I just can't see it because as a city, I mean, every department has to do a cut.
We can. So this obviously the decision would have to be made with you, with the council members, but we absolutely can. It is in the form of a loan.
Yes, because if every department has to do a cut and we keep giving out these loans and really we're not getting anything back because then we hold a mortgage like 30 years or whatever. And then when that comes, then they own it. So they really, it's free money. It's still free money. I don't care how you say it. So then there should be a way in which they have to pay us something back. because if we keep giving out as a city, we can go bankrupt. I don't know if anybody paying this attention. Because we
Obviously,
give a
do
lot,
it out
but we
for
need
the-
to start figuring out how we can get a little back.
Yes, obviously, we're generating the affordable units, which is what we want. We have this
Yeah, I
long
know.
list of affordability.
Listen, I know
But
we
yes.
generating affordable units, but in those affordable units, though, some of those units are market rate too, they're getting too. Not all the time that the whole building is affordable.
No,
We
no,
have
this is
some.
whatever we pay for, whatever
Right.
we agree, we have a deed restriction
Correct.
on those units.
Correct. So I
We
just
do.
want to know,
Yeah.
going forward, what can we do?
This is
Every
possibility.
department has to cut, then we have to figure out how to start bringing additional income in.
Absolutely.
All right?
I think that's doable.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Lucinda.
Council President, council members, Lucinda McLaughlin, Director of the Department of Recreation and Youth Development. I'm before you on 5 items tonight. The first is item 10.42, which is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-ended contract with Ascape Landscaping. This is the in-ground irrigation system at 20 locations across the city, 18 of which are city parks. We also include the Summit Firehouse and the Municipal Court.
Director, where the kids?
I got to pick them up at 5:15, Councilman. Thank you for asking. And Council President, when you inquired before about longer term contracts, this is actually the second renewal, so the third year of this contract. So this will go out to bid again.
Director, so this, what happened with, Jean's Landscaping? What, did they, how?
So that's actually the next resolution item, Councilman, with regard, the name Ascape is familiar because I was here last time talking about Ascape. This is a separate service with Ascape for the, simply the irrigation system. So they turn them, they turn them on beginning of the season, winterize them, blow them out at the end of the, park season, and then we have them on call for if there's an irrigation system issue.
Oh, okay.
Next item, I can answer that though, when I move on to the my second topic.
Are these different, Riverview Park Neighborhood Association had some issues with the current vendor? Is this the current vendor that we have? Or
In terms of timing,
they had issue, yeah, with the timing of the sprinklers and
Councilman, there's been the past few months specifically, there are some things that the city plumbers would handle and some things that the irrigation vendor would handle. At Riverview Fisk specifically, there was like some leaks around, if I'm not mistaken, like the gazebo. So that was like a combination if the city plumber versus the irrigation, company would handle that. And then on top of it, we have a few city plumbers, one main guy who's out on injury. So everyone's trying to sort of pick up the pieces. So we've had some hiccups with some of the city plumbers trying to do the job, that our very experienced plumber knows soup to nuts.
okay,
But I don't believe it was anything specific with this irrigation vendor.
got it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
You got it. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll move on to the next topic, which Councilman Gilmore is where you are asking about. So this is a resolution awarding a negotiated contract to a vendor called Clark Moynihan Landscaping for the general maintenance of various parks. I was before you, Councilman, you are correct, one meeting ago to award one of the parks, Bayside, to Ascape Landscaping, who had the lowest bid for that specific park. Since coming before council, Ascape realized that the licensure for waste hauling, which is something called the A901, it's required for anybody who picks up waste generated by another person and transports it. So part of these maintenance contracts for these 7 parks involve the vendor cleaning out the trash cans on site and removing the trash from the site. I give that background because Ascape, one of their sister companies, holds that licensure, but Ascape does not. So after coming before you and asking you to approve that contract with Ascape, Ascape then contacted the city and said, our bad, we cannot perform this contract because we do not have that licensure. So they backed themselves out of that contract. Clark Moynihan, who I'm before you asking, or will be asking approval for them to take on these 7 parks, they have that licensure. They're all lined up. They have all the insurances that are required with snow removal, workman's comp, all those things.
And with regards to the maintenance of the grass, predominantly in the summer months, The contractual agreement states that they will be, mowing or manicuring the lines weekly.
Yes, we actually ask that they take a look at the grass. In the specifications, we ask that they look at the grass 2 times a week. Not that they automatically cut it, because obviously grass grows at different speeds, different times of the year, but that they are on site paying attention to the grass to make sure it's an appropriate length.
Wait, so the contract acts that they look, now, how many cuts in a contract that they have to adhere to versus just looking at, because I mean, I could go and look at it and I'll make a assessment to say, well, we could cut it tomorrow, we could cut it next week, and I'm fulfilling the contract because it says we have to look at it. How many actual cuts do the contract mandate?
It mandates 2 times, Councilman. I didn't mean that they're allowed to just sort of, today we won't do it, but more like we don't want people cutting grass too short, which depending on where you are across the city, that's a whole separate conversation.
Okay, so twice a week.
Right, next one.
Sorry, Director. This contract is being awarded pursuant to NJSA 4811-53. So with its exemption to bidding, could you just explain how it is exempt from that?
We bid, this project was bid out 2 times, Councilman. It was bid first. We received only 1 bid response, which was well in excess of our bid estimated quantities. And when it came out the second time for 6 of the 7 parks, the bids were in excess of our anticipated range. Then we had the one that we accepted, who then have extricated themselves. So now we have 2 public bids, both of which were unsuccessful, and we were able to negotiate from there.
Great, thanks.
I guess my last question, Director, I was looking through the breakdown for cost per park. Kenko's Park is smaller than Berry Lane, but they're charging the same fee. Is it something?
Which you said Kenko?
Kenko Park, yes.
So Councilman, I think you might be looking at the irrigation portion, because Kenko Park is not part of the resolution encompassing item 10.43. But Kenko Park may very well, and if you forgive me, I can look, may be one of the listed items. I see Kenko Park as item R for the irrigation system. So that is, and these, I believe these costs here are the seasonal startup. So you're looking, Councilman, if I'm not mistaken, it says either page 5 of 22 or page 6 of 22, which lists Kenko Park.
Yes.
So that those breakdowns are specific for the irrigation system, which was item 10.42.
Right.
Okay. So next item is item 10.44, which is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-ended contract with Willie's Fence. This is chain link fencing that the Parks Division uses whenever the need arises across the city, whether it's to secure an area of a park that is, needs to be secured for safety reasons. There's various folks across the city that come to us, and this is the contract that allows us to have them, answer and show up as needed instead of, months from then. Okay. Next item is item 10.45, which is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-ended contract with Encon Mechanical Corporation. This is all of our sports lighting and scoreboards. I'm very proud to tell you at our sports fields across the city, we now have functioning lights and functioning scoreboards, and that will continue from this point forward. This is also the 3rd year, so the final renewal option on this contract, which will again go out next year. We also have 2 functioning scoreboards at Caven Point now for the first time. And my last item before you is item 10.46, which is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Jersey Steel Doors for the purchase, delivery, and installation of commercial steel roll-down doors. We are going to be outfitting the field houses that have restrooms in them to make sure that during the winter, while the water is turned off and winterized, we're able to secure those facilities and make sure that they're not damaged.
Can we look into Leonard Gordon Park as well, like to secure that gazebo area, or is that part of it?
It's not part of it, Councilman. What we, we should certainly look into it, but what we did here is we looked at the field houses, which are really visible bathrooms that are open to the public. We've certainly had some issues over the years with people taking advantage of what looks, a room, and we are hopeful that these steel doors will stop us from having to spend so much money to fix things that are broken and vandalized.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, council members.
Thank you. Hill?
Good evening, Mr. President and Council. I'll be only doing one resolution today, which is agenda number 10.34.
Read it.
Okay. The City of Jersey City Division of Community Development respectfully requesting the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to award various program contracts under the Community Services Block Grant. The Department of Community Affairs, which is New Jersey State, will be awarding the initial allocation of $342,611. And the City of Jersey City is an initial allocation of the FY22 Community Services Block Grant. As of December 7th, we did receive the full allocation of the $964,360, which the organizations are aware that the 2022 is already extended to December, but they already was running their programs fully throughout the year. Any questions?
Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Webb?
Good evening, Council. I have one item. It's Agenda 10.1, Resolution 22847, and it's for a special item, revenue and appropriations. It's for our grants. We are accepting 11 grants in a total of $27 million.
That's 10.2, correct?
10.2, yes. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Good evening, Council.
evening.
I have two items for discussion. First item 10.13, Resolution 22858. That is a renewal of a third-party budget software, Questica. This is a 5-year agreement that we have with them. So this would be the third year, implemented in 21, obviously. And, we're just looking to, keep building that database that we have for year-over-year reporting and also expand on our capital module as well.
Is that the best in the business in terms of, the software that we use, or is there better software out there, or?
Well,
I'm just wondering, that's not my field of expertise, so I'm like deferring to you guys.
a couple of municipalities use this. I could get you that information. It wouldn't be our accounting software. It's just an extra tool for us to use, and it's pretty affordable as well. So it's a good option to keep for us.
Okay.
Okay, and the other item is agenda number 10.1, Resolution 22846. That is authorizing calendar year 2022 appropriation transfers. So budget law allows us to transfer any surplus funds in the last 2 months of the calendar year. Essentially, this is surplus funding from other budgetary accounts, and they'd be going to other accounts where there may be potential over expenditures. This would mitigate the impact on the 2023 budget. Anything that's over expended at the year end would be a deferred charge next year's budget. And if there's any questions on the specific line items, I'll answer those.
Sure, thanks, Kyle. So we're transferring 2 million to police salary and wages. I think I know why, but let me just, before I make an assumption, can you tell us why?
Yes, so that is, we went over our overtime budget for police, so that would cover the over expenditure.
And we may have been able to transfer additional salary and wage items within the police line. So could you just tell us what was the budgeted overtime amount and then what's been expended to date? And we know we're not at the end of the year yet.
Right, so we budgeted 10 million for the year.
Yeah.
Standard what we did last year as well. To date, we're about at 13 million. So there is some surplus funds in other line items that, covered that additional million or so. But this is what we need to transfer over to cover the total salary wage line item.
Okay, great.
what checks and balances do we have internally to stop the excessive overtime from the police department? I mean, it's just needs to be reined in. It's like, are we saying anything? What happens if I vote no for this? Like, what happens after that if I don't approve this?
Yes, so what the budget office is capable of doing, obviously, we set the budget in accordance with what our plan is for the year. If there's any potential over expenditure that we identify, this is our mechanism to address it. As far as approving overtime and things of that nature, that does not go through my office. We do notify the departments of any trends, as soon as possible. So
can you tell them
if this was voted against, like I said, we'd have a potential over expenditure depending on what the last payroll of the year comes out to, and that would be raised in next year's budget, and that would limit what we could budget for our appropriation cap as well.
So question, are you?
Well, I was going to ask if there's an over appropriation, and it would impact their budget, or would it impact the whole system if
It would impact
if we carried it
budget.
over?
Yes. So when we close our books December 31st, any salary and wage line I'm over expended for the division, it'd be raised as a deferred charge in the next budget year. So
For the police department?
It'd be a deferred charge on the city's budget.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have two questions. First, sort of in line with this, because this is not the first time that this has come up with an overage and overtime for the police department. Is it possible for the council or for the police department to come back to council, say once every 6 months, for any sort of approval for overtime? And then also, I would like to see a report of how it is again over by $3 million. What is overtime being spent on?
Correct.
And how are these resources being allocated? Because one of the reasons why we have agreed to hire more police officers
Yes.
and expand the force is to eliminate the overtime. And it seems like it's getting worse and not better in that respect.
Right. So obviously defer the council president, the business administrator's office, if they want to meet with the public safety director on this.
Yeah.
The information's available bi-weekly to us, and best we could do is project out what it would be at year end. But if you want to drill down on specifics, you'd really have to, discuss with Director Shea.
Yeah, because this is, this is not a new issue. It comes up every year, and we really need to better understand how the resources are being allocated, except to say, oh, well, there's this overtime.
Correct.
And we get general information. I understand, like in 2019, we had this, a very horrible incident, and like that to me makes sense. But this last year, we really haven't had, big snow. We haven't had a lot of things that would justify, or even a lot of events. So like if the overtime is also in part because of something like the 4th of July, I think it's a great event for the city, but we really need to figure this out in a better way, because we can't keep having this every year, every other year.
Yeah, I want to know who's it going to, like the individuals. I would like to know specifically, because there's probably a few outliers, I'm sure. All right.
I know you can't answer these questions because you're not in.
I know, I'm
department,
not
you're just
attacking you, by the way.
finance.
You're a great guy. You're my spotter at base, so.
See, we have a concern about, public safety overtime. It's always an issue. It's always an issue. And we unhired more police officers, so this won't happen.
Yep.
And we just coming out of COVID, so everybody wasn't out there. I'm just saying.
Hey,
We can't hear you, Peter. We can't hear you.
Sorry, Council President, if that's something you guys like, we can certainly try to put that together. That way you can actually get the answers that you want for those questions and not directed. It's a fine.
Yeah, we want it sooner than later,
That's essential.
okay?
So, Kyle, with regards to, I think I'm reading it wrong, 28402, so we're moving 650,000 from recreation?
Yes, that's likely it's surplus funding from our summer program. More than likely, there may be some from other unfilled vacancies. But typically, we budget a decent amount for our summer programs. And those programs have now ended. So this is just remaining funding from salaries and wages that, we're not going to pay out to anybody.
So these were possibly seasonal workers or something?
Right, but as I said, the programs have ended. If the recreation department didn't hire them in the summer, this is just, like I said, remaining funding.
Okay.
It's not a cut to any programs or anything like that.
Can we get a breakdown? Because when I'm looking at recreation, 650,000 not spent, and then I'm looking in certain parks where recreation programs are not held at, citing that we don't have the funding to do that, or we don't have the staff to manage all the parks. And now I'm seeing 650 being removed. So I just want to see, what does that 650 encompass? Is it actual programs? Is it salaries? What exactly is it?
Right, again, this isn't a cut to any programming. The budget was approved as requested by the department. They didn't, I don't know what position, how many positions they didn't fill, but this is just a year-to-date representation of where they're at with spending. These dollars aren't going to be spent the remainder of the year, but if you want additional information on what programs weren't run or what the staffing was, again, Director McLaughlin would have to provide that. I could provide you with expense reports and things like that, but as far as the details on what didn't occur or what did occur, I would have to coordinate with her.
So the other large transfer is to health insurance. So it's 11 million to health insurance and 1 million to insurance all departments. Can you just walk us through why that increase was necessary?
Right. So the regular insurance, that is for our general workers' comp and those types of items that our IFC holds monthly meetings or biweekly meetings. That's just based on the claims that they get. They've obviously went over a little bit over the budget this year, so we're looking to fulfill those obligations, those or payments that we're required to make, whether it be now or in January. Better we do it now than raise it in next year's budget or anything like that. The 11 million, obviously, for health employee group insurance is substantially higher, but that is really just due to a increase in the trend of claims over the last 3 months. Prior to adopting the budget, we were about at $6 to $8 million weekly on medical claims, and over the last 2 months, that has grown to 10 million and 11 million for the months of October and November. And we're self-insured, so there's always a variance in our claims. It's exponentially higher these last 2 months, and we want to make sure that we have sufficient funding for the rest of the year. So when we get our next few weeks of invoicing, there's no over expenditures there as well.
So is that seasonal variation normal to see a near doubling in health claims in the fall?
I would have to look back at years past. I will say our 2021, our net paid claims was 85 million, so that was about 7 million a week.
Okay.
That's about what we budgeted, hence the need for additional funding here. But we could get more information from our broker.
Right, and then the temporary budget is not based on these transfers, correct? The temporary budget is based on the adopted budget in October?
Right, yeah, 26.25% of certain appropriations, yeah.
Got it. I think it would be great to Councilman Gilmore's question, he was asking about rec, but for all the departments over 100,000, I think it would be great to get a breakdown of, you guys that have great spreadsheets that show us what the intended budget was, and then see what wasn't spent. Because, I think, my concern here is, we had already had cuts to, say, construction code in the amended budget, and now it's another 425,000. So to me, we have our meetings every year in the budget, and we talk about there's not enough elevator inspectors, not enough electrical. Councilman Boggiano always says, give them more money. And now this is, so we need to understand what's happening. Why are those funds not being extended? Did the position not get advertised? Was there no applicant? Are the salaries not high enough? Because ultimately we want to put money into these line items because we want them funded. And then if they're not spending that money, that's $600,000 of rec money that didn't go to kids in the city, and we don't know why, but it didn't.
Right, understood. It's a combination of things, positions not being filled, at the beginning of the year. People leaving the city, overtime budgets coming under. So it is a variation of things. I will say we have probably about $6 million in open positions now where a bulk of this funding is coming from. And we could get you to break down as much as we can. Again, this isn't any cuts to any positions or anything like that. This is
Money that wasn't spent.
surplus funding not spent, and this won't impact next year's budget. This isn't funding we're removing from their budget for next year. We have to go through that process as well, right? It's just that positions weren't filled and this money will just sit there unused, and it's better to, cover these over expenditures than let it sit there for.
Are there going to be over expenditures for the police department going into 2023, or is this transfer going to cover all of 2022?
This is intended to cover the full 2022 budget.
So we're not running any deficits into next year if we do this?
Correct, yeah.
So they have a blank slate and they're not, basically what I'm getting to is there anything that we can do as a council to put into law that they have to come to us for more overtime pay or every time they exceed their budget?
Law Department.
Is there anything that we could, put more check? Because they come for the fluffy stuff like grants, but when it comes to overtime, they're like killing it.
We can certainly look into it and speak to the director, see how it's done right now and see what we can draft up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This rate, they budget next year.
We need to see what we can do. That they can come
Councilman,
back
there's
to us.
a number of questions related to these issues.
Yeah.
Regarding, how they're spending the money, what money wasn't spent. So if you'd like, we can get back to you with that and, make it sure offline, you have all the information you need.
Thank you.
Tricia.
Good evening, council
Evening.
members. I have 2 items to present. The first one is Agenda 10.5, Resolution 22-850. It's a resolution to replace 2 lost third-party certificates. A lien holder lost them. They've paid the $100 required by state statute to have us replace them.
Any questions? Next one, Trish.
The next one is agenda number 10.6, resolution 22-851. It's the cancellation of tax balances, lot cleaning charges, abatement charges, special improvement charges of $10 or less for tax year 2022.
Where does the balance 10 come into play?
If they pay late and there's a small balance of interest, there's no sense of sending out a bill with the cost of envelope and for $10, less than $10.
So is it that they're not paying their debt in its entirety or correctly?
Yeah, it could be that, or they wrote their check out incorrectly, or it came a day late and then they have some interest. Yes. Some people actually shorten their check. They don't want to put cents on their check. They're like 1,000, it's really $1,010, something like that.
These are paid online or in person, both?
It's usually when they mail a check, but it could be, they're all different ones.
If I pay a bill wrong, I got to pay it again. I understand it's a lot on the department to do that balancing and everything. But
it's just the state statute. All municipalities do it. It's standard practice.
Doesn't amount to much though, right? 450, 456.
By the time we pay for an envelope and a letter and the mailing and the postage, it's not worth it.
Got it. Yeah.
The issue is for me that as a regular citizen, if let's say I don't pay Viola the exact amount and I'm $10 short, I can potentially get a surcharge added on. Then it can keep adding on and adding on. I understand the objective a little, but there comes a point where the responsibility and onus is on the person who owes the debt to solidify the debt. So instead of making it easy for them, because if you're writing a check, just put $1,010.
I can't answer why the residents do that.
State statute.
What
It's a
happens?
state statute, yes.
State statute.
I was gonna say, so what happens if we hypothetically don't approve this? Does this, like, do we end up putting a lien on their property or?
No, the liens only start at $100, so.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like the bureaucratic cost of pursuing it is higher than the value, actual value of what we're pursuing. So that's why we're not pursuing it. Thank you.
I am here for Resolution 22904, Agenda Item 10.59. Resolution of the City Council, City of Jersey City, directing the Planning Board to prepare an amendment or revision to the Morris Canal redevelopment plan. You've seen some resolutions like this earlier this year. The purpose of this is to direct the Planning Board to prepare an amendment or revision pursuant to the local redevelopment housing law. We've received numerous amendment requests. One of them is attached to this resolution. I've requested more formal amendment requests from other petitioners. I could forward them before Wednesday. There was a brief memo prepared to this resolution saying that we've received amendment requests in the mixed use B zone, mixed use C zone, mixed use E zone, and there's a map attached to the resolution as well for your reference.
Is this Word app? This is in Word app?
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
All right. I hand it off to Tanya.
Okay, we have a few, so I'm going to try to go through the easier, quicker ones first, if that's okay. 3.1 is an amendment to the Jersey Ave Light Rail redevelopment plan. And this is just simply a clarification. Since the inclusionary zoning ordinance passed, a lot of people who have been looking to utilize the affordable housing overlay bonus have been saying that they should only need to do 15% because that's what the IZO says. But the redevelopment plan does say 20. And it was, when we wrote it specifically for 20 and the finances worked at the time. So we believe that that is accurate and we just wanted to get rid of any kind of, misinformation, make it really clear that if you want to utilize the affordable housing overlay bonus in the Jersey Ave Light Rail, it's 20% on site.
Sorry.
That's an easy one.
Sorry, Director, can I ask you a couple of questions on it? So one is, when it was put in place in 2021, the old IZO was in place, which had different like AMIs and requirements. So in this case, is it now 20% under the new IZO requirements, or is it 20% under the older AMIs that were required in the prior IZO?
I feel pretty certain that the original IZO had UHAC requirements. I thought that was one of the concessions we made on the original IZO. I don't remember a breakdown. I remember it was being a first draft. We talked about it, but it would be UHAC, I guess, regardless. We did take out language that, talked about buyouts or anything like that, or Chapter 187, how it was previous.
And then the second question is, when we did that, we had done the light rail, and the light rails, the property at the light rail was 10% plus the light rail. But my understanding is that that's kind of what the court ruled we couldn't do. So do we have to amend the light rail property? If we're like looking at this one again, do we have to amend and say the light rail property now has to be 20% as well? Or how do we handle that specific portion of the plan?
So when we wrote the Jersey Ave redevelopment plan using affordable housing, we wrote it as bonus language.
Okay.
And with primarily the 20% as the first bonus. The light rail, we were very specific to say that there wasn't an opportunity to buy down or get out of the 20%, but instead where we met in the middle was that 10% on-site worked with the light rail. I understand what you're asking, and I don't know if I'm responding in the way that you are looking at, but I just wanted to give you some background to let you know that when we were working with the auto group, the 10% was the number that we used specifically to see how the project would work. I understand what you're asking. Yeah. I don't know the full answer to that. I assume it would be more about fair shares interpretation on that.
Sure. Okay. Understood. And then am I correct that the one application has come in under the 20%? Is that right?
One has, yes, and it's been slightly stalled. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask, do you think it's moving forward, right? It's potentially going to be built in the near future. I mean, obviously not built, but like they're moving forward. They're trying to get it.
They have an application in right now where they are is in discussion with the Division of Affordable Housing about the UHAC breakdown, which are not things that my division typically gets involved with. Sure. And so I believe that most of their discussions right now are about unit breakdown and AMI breakdown and getting to a point where that works.
And then the last question I have is, if I actually have two more questions, but so one of them is if the 20% is working, would we consider amending the inclusionary zoning ordinance to then move all of the high opportunity census tracts to that 20% mark?
And that's a more generalized policy decision. Yeah.
Okay, got you. And the last thing is just procedurally, do we have to refer this to the planning board or do we just vote on the amendment?
It was already, you guys originally did the resolution authorizing the planning board to study it. The planning board wrote the recommendation, or I'm sorry, wrote the change, and now you are voting on it.
So we can use the old referral from whenever that was.
It was that old. I think
It's like a year or two ago, right? I mean, it was, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was within this year. Of course, I don't have anything in front of me because why would I? But I'm pretty sure that I did it this year.
Okay.
I can get back to you on the exact resolution.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks.
So another easier one to deal with is resolution 10.38. This is awarding H2M, the historic master plan. This has been a trial by fire effort. This is the third RFP that we went out with. The first RFP, we got no submissions. The second RFP, we got 2 submissions and we liked both of them and both of them had deficiencies. So we rejected both of them. And the third RFP, the 2 submissions decided to work together, which is exactly what we wanted. So it worked out the best. We've got basically the best of both worlds, historic preservation experts along with professional planners who can help us with public engagement. Historic master plan, even though our master plan just went through, the historic master plan hasn't been done in over 20 years. And it really does need to be done so we can, I think, really kind of retool the zoning within the historic district that also hasn't been done in a long time, and come up with something a little bit more specific that works in each one of the districts instead of the more generalized H zoning that we have and the overlay of the R1 in the West Bergen. That's if I have any questions for that, I can help, whatever. And a little bit more difficult. I guess we'll do
0.60.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we'll just get into it. 10.60 is the Ocean Ave study. The designation of the area is a mix between an area in need of redevelopment using condemnation and an area in need of rehab. And I want to talk about this, delicately, because I know that it's not something that's easily talked about and easily dealt with. So why do we use redevelopment? Let's just go back 10 steps. We use redevelopment for a few reasons. One of that, we feel that the area needs an extra shot in the arm to help develop. The other is that we really want a cohesive plan to work. So we can decide that we want, one street to look a certain way, and so we'll write the zoning, and it's up to each one of those individual property owners to develop and to build what we have zoned, and hope that in the long run it looks more like a cohesive plan. Redevelopment powers allow us to do that more cohesively, and to also take into account things that might not be on the site itself. So the sidewalk, the street, as you know, with other plans that we've done, open space bonuses, affordable housing requirements. The powers of redevelopment really allow you to do more of that. This section of Ocean Avenue was the only section of Ocean Avenue not in a redevelopment plan. It was in the R1 zone. So at the request of Councilman Ridley, we studied the area to do a designation, to do a study. We studied the area to designate this area as redevelopment. The rest of it, primarily the blocks that we are looking for to use condemnation on. And so I also want to be careful of how we say that. I'm asking to designate this area with the power of condemnation so that we are able to use it if we need to, right? There's a difference between outright going ahead and using it, which we can if we were using it for a public purpose, eminent domain is used for public purpose, or it's just allowing the powers to exist. So if you're familiar with these sites, if you drive down Ocean and you're close to the cemetery, it's the old Entenmann's Florist. Right next to the old Entenmann's Florist is the used car dealership and the auto body that's right next to it. So are these any more or worse than other blighted areas? Some of them are pretty egregious. The sidewalks are asphalt. There's barbed wire. If you've been past Entenmann's, it is falling apart literally into the site itself and onto the street. But I think more comprehensively, if you want to develop the site along with the auto used dealership, you want to have one whole development. You don't want to develop the Entenmann site, which seems like the more, I guess, kind of low-hanging fruit for a redevelopment project, and have the auto dealership right next door. If you want to use it for community, public purpose, there's a ability to develop the whole block front in order to do that. So again, right, this is exercising the power doesn't necessarily, when I'm not asking you to exercise the power, I'm asking you to designate the area with the ability to use the power if we needed to.
How would you know if you need to use it or not? Like what would be the line that has to be crossed, or the benchmark that has to be reached in order for us to cross the Rubicon?
My experience has been that they always try to work with the owners first to get them to have the site designated, have them to be designated developers for their own site, to develop their own site. I think what makes it tricky is that there's multiple owners here. And so at a point, I think if you are finding that the owners are not working together, we're not able to put a cohesive project together, or for example, one owner is asking way too much. It is your constitutional right to be paid for your property. That's not what I'm talking about here, but I am talking about egregious asking. And that's really when I think you're looking at the power of condemnation so that you can really kind of stem those issues. You can stem either the egregious asking or two owners that can't agree with something, so you can have one designated developer and develop the height cohesively.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
That was the hard one. So here's the easy one.
Okay.
Actually, there's two more, but I'm going to talk about 701 Newark Ave first. That's item 4.5 ordinance. Mr. Harrington is here to represent his client if you do have additional questions. The long and the short of it is that it's a redevelopment plan asking for an additional 4 stories because they are wishing to use the Aspire program, which results in an additional 20% affordable housing. The request came because the 20% affordable housing has to be done to UHAC standards, and those standards require bigger units. And so in order to accommodate the bigger units, that was the request for the extra 4 stories. The 4 stories is tied to the 20% to the Aspire program. There is no 4 stories without the 20%. Again, Mr. Harrington's here if I did a bad job answering any of those, following up any of those clarifications or not.
What's word C? I don't know.
So if they build it as is without the extra 4 stories, the 20% is off the table.
I just couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
So if they build it without the extra 4 stories, they're requesting the 20% is off the table.
Correct. They have, as of right zoning to, I believe, go up to 27 stories because it's a part of the homestead extension. So it was a property that was sold through the JCRA with the continuing of the extension all the way out to Newark Avenue. And I believe, I don't know if it's a 1-for-1 replacement for the parking, or there's a parking lot there. Stories. I was
additional 8 stories.
Charles,
Sorry for jumping in. Yeah, just to clarify.
just raise the mic, Charles.
Just to clarify, yeah, it would be, you'd be permitted to go 35 stories instead of 27 stories, but you're not gaining any more development units. My client's designated as the redeveloper by the JCRA to develop 336 units. So this will not allow them to go beyond 336 units. Just as Tanya just mentioned, it allows you to have bigger rooms, bigger units, a better unit mix, so that you're not having studios and ones in this project. So it's a more attractive application to the Aspire program. And they're also going to be seeking low-income housing tax credits. So it makes it a more competitive project. And kind of backing up this as some of the conditions of the designation by the JCRA is that it has to be built with the union trades, and also all the maintenance going forward has to be union. So those are additional costs in the project. So this kind of helps close the gap if the Aspire program accepts the application. So my client sees it as maybe a win. It's a win-win, so that it would result in 67 affordable units, which would be subject to the UHAC standards, the new Aspire program, and the same amount of units. We're not.
It's how many units again, Chuck?
336.
So it's 336. How many units can they build without the additional 8 floors?
336.
Or they still could build the same amount of numbers?
That's right.
So they just, so you'll make bigger units.
That's right. It's bigger units. So you're not getting more units.
Same price for the units?
Wide.
Oh,
It's
no, I'm
all
gonna
mixed up but you're going to have 67 affordable units now mixed in. It also would allow to provide, this is along Newark Avenue where you have the public parking lot. So one of the requirements of the designation is to replace that parking within a quarter of a mile of the site or on the site. So these additional floors, at least 2 of them will be used for parking so that you can have the public parking replaced in kind right in that project, which you have a lot of merchants there within, the Journal Square, Newark Avenue area. So we'll keep the parking right there.
If you know, Chuck, from square footage perspective, they're going from how many square feet to how many square feet?
I don't know that number. It's just, it's 8 floors, going up, but it's not increasing the number of units.
No, I'm saying, I'm trying to figure out, because you said they can get 300 and however many it is, but some stipulation is saying for the affordable unit have to be a certain amount.
Dimension, yeah.
Yeah, well, you could have, under the existing zoning, you could have all studios and 1-bedrooms. And you have a number of the projects in that area right now have that. So what this will do is it allows to create more 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. And, you know, consistent with the UHAC standards and the Aspire program, you'll provide for those so that you're getting a better unit mix, not just the affordable, but the market rate, so that not everybody living there is going to be living in a studio and a 1 bedroom. You're going to have a more diverse mix in this building.
Yeah. So there will be 2 to 3 bedroom affordable units, correct?
Correct.
And then you also stated that it is being built by union labor.
That's correct.
And will there be union labor following after everything's constructed, and will the building maintenance and staff and everyone be unionized?
That's correct. Those are all requirements of the designation and agreement with the JCRA.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, Chuck, somebody asked me today, they said there's going to be a lot of 1-bedroom apartments there or single-room apartments.
No, just the opposite. That's what I'm saying. That's what the additional square footage, the additional floors allows for more 2 bedrooms, more 3 bedrooms, so that you get a better mix of the units.
Yeah, we like families, you know.
Correct.
People's neighborhood.
Can I ask, sir, you said you're under designation from the JCRA. Does your client own the site?
No, they're purchasing the site from the city.
So the city owns it, and the city put out an RFP, or how did the JCRA determine who the designated redeveloper would be?
Actually, the JCRA owns the property now. There was an RFP a number of years ago where it was the Dream Hotel.
I gotcha.
That project died.
Gotcha.
And then there was an additional inquiry as to who may be interested. And so this all went through a process with the JCRA.
Sure, we need to do the additional inquiry, but there wasn't an RFP at that point.
I think there was a limited RFP.
Limited edition?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the requirements, just so clear, so you have to go through the Aspire program? That's required as part of the JCRA designation?
These amendments would allow us to, we don't have to apply for the Aspire program, but because of the additional costs incurred because of the union labor and other requirements, makes it a little bit tight. So this helps the gap, and this would allow us to make that application and to make a more competitive application with the Aspire program and the low-income housing tax program. So if it were not accepted by the Aspire program, then you can still revert back to the 27-story project with 336 units, market rate.
So because the JCRA owns it, that's what I want to get at. So obviously the goal is you get Aspire, it's 20% affordable. Let's say, unfortunately, the application is rejected. Are you allowed under the JCRA contract to then move forward with a 27-story as of right building? Because it's city-owned land, so at the end of the day, I know it's written, but we can, I mean, I say city-owned, it's JCRA-owned land. You know, we can set the terms for what happens on that property.
That would be the fallback, is to do the 27 stories with market rate. Also union labor, also union maintenance.
Gotcha. I appreciate that. I mean, I think from my perspective, from setting rules for city-owned land, I don't think we should be building market rate only projects on city-owned property. And so it's great that you're pushing for the 20% in Aspire, and hopefully we can all say kumbaya when you win the application. However, I do have some concern over any city-owned land being developed at market rate. So it's for us to think about for second reading.
So definitely you learned that you shouldn't hire me as your math tutor for any of your children going forward. 4 is different than 8. I apologize for that. And the last one, I'm going to ask a planning associate to come up who is much smarter and younger.
Which one is it?
What item?
Which number?
4.6?
Yep, 4.6, ordinance 22-102. An ordinance of the Jersey City Municipal Council to amend the Grand Jersey redevelopment plan regarding modifications to the street grid, regulating maps, building types, and street sections. There are 2 main moving parts to the proposed amendment, from one of them being from city planning, the other from a designated redeveloper. City Planning is proposing amendments north of the light rail tracks, which include the widening of Morris Street to incorporate the Morris Canal Greenway and the consolidation of Block 5 and 6 to better suit the type of plan development. The amendments proposed south of the light rail tracks are the request of the petitioner and the designated redeveloper, Argent Ventures. As a result of years-long coordination with NJDEP and JCWA, modifications to the street grid and building locations are requested. The amendments proposed by City Planning and the petitioner do not result in additional residential units or residential square footage. The proposed amendments would not trigger the IZO. Let me know if you have any questions. If I'm unable to answer, Argent Ventures team is here to field questions.
Questions? Questions?
So can you just,
Yeah.
so can you just summarize what is changing in the plan? What are the specific, items? I know it's not additional residential density, but.
So we are modifying the street grid, adjusting some of the regulating maps. This is a very map-heavy redevelopment plan. The building locations had to change as a result of the street grid changes and Argent Ventures coordination with the DEP. There are some building type sections in this plan. They show things like stoops and required parking, built interior. So some things in the building section diagrams change to eliminate those stoops and just have some notes that say optional for commercial uses or parking uses. Yeah, that's the bulk of it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Liz, right? Alva? Trying to see, it's like scribble. Vivek? Vivek? Vivek?
Vivek.
Good evening, Council. Division of IT has two resolutions. 1037, Resolution 22882. This resolution is to amend a contract with Comcast from 48,000 to 100,000 due to increase in bandwidth at all the sites.
10.37.
37.
Internet service on every site?
Increase the bandwidth for all the Comcast service sites. So we're increasing the contract amount from 48,000 a year to 100,000 for the next 2 years.
Does this include, the annex, City Hall annex?
Correct.
Service over there is horrible.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
I was gonna say, can we get better Wi-Fi in City Hall?
We're in the process. Yeah, we're adding 35 access points at City Hall.
Okay.
We just need to cut over to the new service.
Is this part of that or no?
This is not part of that, but
Okay.
if the site goes down, this will kick in. This is
Okay.
So the second resolution is item number 10.71, resolution 22.916. This is to award a contract to Unicorn for delivery installation of 13 fingerprint scanners. This is at the fire stations where they don't have a computer to sign into the Unicorn system.
Does it sit in and sign out?
Correct, into the new Unicorn system, the clock in and clock out.
What's the new system that the other workers are using? They send their login from the computer.
Right, so you can log in from a computer, it's a portal. So you can log in from a computer, from a kiosk machine or a fingerprint scanner. This replaces the hand scanner, but this is for the new system. A hand scanner is outdated.
Why didn't HR present this? I'm just curious because they spoke about this at length during our budget hearings. But the Unicorn system,
I guess Director of IT is handling this project. So
okay, I'm just.
And the actual purchase is done by IT and everything. So HR handles the actual application of Unicorn, whereas the technology behind it goes to IT.
I heard that Unicorn doesn't have, I mean, this is all hearsay, but the Unicorn system doesn't have the capacity to log, it only logs hours. It doesn't log salaried staff appropriately. So people are having issues with that, like the people that are salaried. Is that?
No, that's not correct. On the back end of Unicorn, we put in the salary, the staff member, their hours, they have a schedule. So Unicorn is capable of handling it. There's a lot of, employees don't want to use it. So they're, coming up with rumors.
Thank you for dispelling that. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek.
Go on. Health and Human Services, did they leave? Okay. Cohen, that's what it said, right? Said Cohen. All right. Hey, what can I say?
Good evening, City Council.
Yeah.
I have two resolutions for you tonight. The first one is 22873, 10.28, resolution of the Municipal Council to accept a grant agreement with the County of Hudson Department of Health and Human Services Office on Aging for the amount of $1,130,672 calendar year of 2023 to be used for senior congregate sites and Meals on Wheels homebound elderly. Okay, the second item was Director Flanagan had mentioned there's a duplicate item. That was due to be an RFP proposal for the congregate meal program and acceptance from Wealth LLC, owned by Gina.
If it's duplicate, what number is it?
It's 10.29. Owned by Gina
It's the same
Cassis.
thing.
Pulled.
It's
No,
pulled.
10.28 was the first one.
No, it's pulled. It's 10 point.
10.28, 29 were the duplicates. Stacy was the one who pulled 10.29.
All right, it's pulled. That's it. It's pulled. That is not on here.
Well, it was held up due to requisition and will be shifted to the grant that I just mentioned.
No, it's not on here.
Pulled.
It's pulled. 10.29 is pulled. There's no other one on here, so we don't know exactly what you're talking about. So we don't have it. It's not here. He's trying to say to me.
Okay, so it was pulled, thank you.
Right, that's it. Okay.
Hello, Council President, members of the council. We have a number of items. Can you hear me? Okay. We have a number of items for the Department of Infrastructure. We'll try to keep this as quick and efficient for you as we can. We're going to start with an item for the Division of Engineering, agenda item 10.26, resolution number 22-871.
Good evening, Council. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of the First Amendment. This is a right-of-way use agreement. So there was already something in place since March 21st, 2021, and that was with Global Interexchange. This just adds an additional partner or operator to do the work for the fiber optic service, and it adds the GIX as a venture partner to this already in place agreement.
It doesn't cost anything additional, correct?
No, it does not. No, it just adds them. I think it's a additional $750 they have to pay.
Fiber optic for us, or who's it for?
I don't know if it's technically for us, but it'll be for, anybody they choose down the line. But it will be for the city with this private entity.
Okay.
Let me just add that we're presenting this item, but I believe the law department was the lead. So if there are additional questions, we can ask the law department to weigh in between now and Wednesday.
Somebody can explain it now? Wake up, wake up.
Wish we get out of here by Christmas.
Come on and explain it.
Probably
You know,
Peter.
Tell us about it.
It
Do
sounds.
you know about it, John? If you don't, then does anyone there?
This is a standard thing for a utility company to.
We can't hear you. Okay.
It's a standard form process. They need to get authorization from the governing body to put utility lines in the existing city right of way.
Right.
That's all this is.
Okay,
So Ray's probably finishing up the contract agreement and that'll probably be.
gotcha.
And right now, this is already approved for a different entity. They're just using a separate entity as a partner or an operator so that this separate entity can jump on the existing agreement.
Got it. Thank you.
Next one.
Thank you.
Next. Okay, next we have a number of items for the Division of Traffic Engineering. So I'll call up the director. There are 10 items. Please bear with us.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have 7 ordinances and 3 resolutions to present. Agenda 3.2, 22, 104. This is to restrict right turn on red movements at the southbound, eastbound, westbound approaches of Marin Boulevard and 18th Street. And this is to improve the safety for peds and bikes at navigating through the intersection, especially with the new cycle track that we just installed.
Questions?
Okay, agenda 3.3, ordinance 22-105. This is for a no parking area in front of 100 Montgomery Street. It would be in effect Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. through 4 p.m. to allow for loading and unloading operations for the residents at that building. Okay, agenda 3.4, ordinance 22-106. This is for street cleaning on Bergen Ave. This is to add street cleaning on Saturday between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. From Sip Ave to Fairview Ave.
Why does it have to Montgomery? Does it go to, because I was kind of confused when I was looking. It says from,
It was up until Montgomery and then we extended the limits to Fairview.
okay, so initially,
Mhm.
and this is for Saturdays.
To add Saturday back to the street cleaning schedule.
So this came about through the request to the Special Improvement District because they're one of they're the only commercial corridor where it is not an additional Saturday cleaning. Yeah. So this came specifically from the Special Improvement District. They did the study. We found out that it had been removed a number of years back and we're just reinstating it to keep it cleaner.
Okay, agenda 3.5, ordinance 22-107. This is for street cleaning on 16th Street between Jersey Ave and Marin Boulevard to add or to change the street cleaning days and times to Tuesday and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
I thought this is the once a week now too. So one side Tuesday, one side Thursday. Is that right? Okay, great.
Okay. The next one is agenda 3.
Because I know a lot of times where the signs reflected, because a lot of times when we do it, a lot of times the signs are not there and it confuses the resident.
Yeah, we'll make sure that they're correct and we'll work with DPW to post those signs. Okay, next one, agenda 3.6, ordinance 22-108. This is a note for a no parking area to be designated at 675 Monmouth Street to facilitate the drop-off and pickup operations of the school Ivy Primary Prep school days 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
If it's just for school drop off and pickup, why don't we or why can't we, or can we, adjust it from, let's say, I guess if school starts at 7 and all the kids you figure will be in by 9, and then when school is dismissed, I don't know, at 3 and the last kid leave at 6 versus the whole gap.
I can get that information to you before Wednesday. This is what was requested by the school. I think they have staggered arrivals and staggered dismissals. So it might be as early as, 2 p.m. They start dismissing kids up until 6, but I can get that information to you. On to the next one. Okay, agenda 3.7, ordinance 22-109. This is for reserved parking spaces that were approved at the committee meetings on September 7th and October 12th.
This for the handicap, correct?
Yep.
I think it have 55 in the on the agenda, but I think it's 57 because 55 is Miss Diggs and then Mr. Doug live at 57. I don't know.
The addresses
Yes.
were confused. I think maybe the location of the space is at a different location. So if the address of the
Miss Diggs old handicap. Okay. All right.
but I can verify that for you before the meeting.
That might be correct because she no longer drives anymore.
Mhm.
Guess they're just stopping.
Okay. Agenda 3.8, ordinance 22-110. This is for a no parking area at 1217 Summit Ave to facilitate pickup and drop off for clients at the Physical Therapy and Balance Center. This would be in effect Monday through Saturdays, 8 a.m. through 6 p.m. Okay, and I'll go into the resolutions. First resolution, Agenda 1041, Resolution 22-886. This is for a loading zone at 252 Monticello Avenue for commercial vehicles to be in effect Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 a.m. 5 p.m. Sorry.
10.40.
Is that New Kid City or is that the I know they have like a truck and something next to it.
Yeah, this is for, this was requested by the owner of the, it's like a garage.
Yes, okay.
Mhm.
But they have like a double, you can't park there anyway because his driveway is directly right by a fire hydrant, which is sufficient enough room for them to get in and get out.
The owner said that she has large flatbeds that arrive and drop off materials for her business. And we agreed that it would be just a general loading zone. It could be used by other businesses in the area.
There's no other business in the area that get next nearest business who get huge drop-offs and may need a truck.
This would only take up one parking space, if any.
But the issue is, the parking is already scarce. It's a parking nightmare around there.
Mhm.
And they already have a driveway. Then right next to the driveway, they have a hydrant, so no one can park there anyway. And then on the corner, it have you can't park from here to here. So I think only one more car can go there anyway. So what you're going to do is essentially take one parking space is a lot in that area. So it's a mess around there when it comes to parking.
Okay, it is just one parking space and it's only through business hours. I can reach out to the requester of the loading zone.
Did you see the site? Let us stop. Did you see the site?
Yes, I did. Mhm.
Okay, so what are you saying?
I think it's, I mean, when I went out there, there wasn't anyone parking in that parking space. And again, it's just for loading during the business hours. It would be available to residents overnight.
Okay.
The next resolution, Agenda 1049, 22-894. This is a resolution to award a one-year contract in the amount of just shy of $2.6 million to Gen Electric for the maintenance and repair of traffic signals and flashing beacons throughout the city. We also have the option to renew, two options for one-year renewals. And this is Gen Electric. We've been working with them for the past couple of years. We're happy with them and we're happy to recommend the award to them.
Have we identified the locations where these devices are going to be fixed at?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Have we identified the locations where these devices are going to be fixed at?
This is a maintenance contract, so this is to maintain all of the traffic signals throughout the city. Okay, and the last one, Agenda 1058, Resolution 22-903. This is for a loading zone on the west side of Marin Boulevard between Observer Highway and 18th Street. This is to facilitate deliveries and move in and move out operations at Zephyr Lofts primarily, and then it's just a general loading zone. It could accommodate other loading operations on the block. Okay, thank you. Not yet. Next up, we have two resolutions for the Division of Sustainability. I'll call up our new Sustainability Director, who I don't think many of you have met yet, so our first caucus. And then I'm also going to call up from the Department of Public Works, the City Forester, whose presence was requested specifically for these items in case there are any questions. So if they can just quickly introduce themselves and then talk about both resolutions.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kai Wagner. I'll move it up.
Okay.
I'm the Director of Sustainability with the Department of Infrastructure. I'll hand it to Mike.
Hi, my name is Michael DeSancia, and I'm the City Forester.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet both of you.
So I have two resolutions tonight. The first is Agenda 1039, Resolution number 22-884. This is a resolution to authorize the renewal of a contract with Eastern Landscape to do citywide tree planting in the amount of $510,000.
Questions on the trees?
How many trees are we getting planted for 510? And where are they going? Because I think Mayor Mike spoke briefly about the trees on MLK, how they're, I guess, not appropriate for the bed and is raising the sidewalk. So I want to know where are these trees going to be, where are they going to be going, and how many?
So the number will depend on excavation work. The max we can plant with this amount of money is around 300. So the cost to plant a tree is around $1,600. And then to your second question, the plantings will occur citywide. We have requests from the public, so we try to get to the requests that are the oldest. We have some going back to 2019, so that will be the first priority, and then we do the second priority based on environmental justice.
Now, where they're being planted, are all of these requested by the property owners? Because some people are saying it's like, they put the tree here, we didn't want it here, and they put it in front, and now they're saying we're responsible for if the sidewalk is messed up. So are these property owners obliging to have it placed in front of their home?
Yeah, all of the requests were from property owners, yes, under the Adopt a Tree program. However, it's the public right of way, so we want to plant wherever possible.
If
Sorry.
so excited. Councilman, if I could just add to that. So it's a combination of both things, like Director Wagner was saying. We, up until now, for the past 5 or so years, we've approached new tree plantings in the city, first starting with where we're getting requests through the Adopt a Tree program, prioritizing those locations. And then as there's additional supply, we go and plant trees in other locations that just have a need where we need to increase the tree canopy in that part of the city. Now, at this point, we strategically are trying to move away from that and first start with locations that actually are in dire need for trees in the city. And then when we have additional capacity, we go to the request. So there could be a case where a new tree was planted on any given street in the public right of way where a person did not necessarily request it, but there should never be a case where a new tree was planted and someone who didn't sign up for Adopt a Tree is being asked to maintain that tree. So if that is the case, then that's something that the Division of Forestry would look into and clarify for them, because we wouldn't have any property owners being responsible for tree care or tree maintenance if they didn't sign up for that program. The Division of Forestry should be doing that. So
Well,
we would just encourage you to send locations or contacts for when things are like that are happening.
But that's the very issue we're having on MLK and Myrtle. It's like the homeowners are, but I guess is a little different because the developer had the land, developed it, then added the trees and then sold it. So it's kind of, so in the short answer is, who's responsible for the maintenance and the damage of the trees?
So the first 2 years after the planting, the contractor is responsible for maintaining the trees. After the 2 years, it's the city's responsibility.
To clarify though, you're talking about sidewalk uplift?
Yes.
Which would promote, I mean, I don't want to speak for the forester, but that would probably not be a new tree planting issue. That would be an older, more mature tree planting issue.
I think you better speak to John McKinney, who's sitting right over there, right, John? John, I gave you how much paperwork on people being sued for tripping on sidewalks and the city's responsible?
I don't have those numbers at my immediate disposal, Councilman. I know it happens sometimes, but the hard numbers on that, I don't have at my disposal right now.
So this is a major issue right now throughout the city.
So yeah, just to wrap up the different questions that we just talked about. Yes, if the issue is with the sidewalk itself and whether or not that's caused by uplifting because of the roots of the trees, that is, yes, the responsibility of the property owner. But if that were to be the case, it wouldn't be like the councilwoman is saying because of a new tree that was planted. That's probably because of a mature tree or, something that's been in place for a while.
So I think, well, they're two separate. So when a new tree goes into the maintenance plan, if I'm understanding the contract correct, they're responsible for watering, for pruning, for removing the stakes and all the things associated with a new tree.
Correct.
And how is that to be monitored? Because I know we've had these in contracts in the past, but it has not. Part of it's because when foresters have left, there's been no contingency plan for who would enforce the contract. So can you guys speak to how, hopefully you guys are going to be with us for quite some time because I've so far enjoyed working with you. But should there, how is that going to be enforced?
Yeah, so the previous city plantings, fortunately, it sounds like that wasn't happening. Our plan moving forward is for a member of our staff to be there when they're doing the maintenance. So we're able to require it between certain dates according to the contract, and we'll be present to supervise and confirm that the work takes place and take care of the trees.
And will that, I guess this is maybe more to Mike, we've talked about the QR code for new trees. Will that include that sort of implementation for monitoring where they are and how they're working?
Yeah, that would be a great thing, I think, to work on. I don't think we have it in place right now. So in the contract, they have to tell us like 48 hours before they do any maintenance work. They have to tell us when they're going to be watering. We have to have a crew contact. So we're going to monitor it more hands-on, I think, in person for now until we come up with that system.
That's because it's wonderful to plant new trees, but if they're not maintained, you're throwing away money.
I have a question. So this is for the duration of next year, correct? Will you be accepting new applications for the Adopt a Tree program?
Yes, right now the application's only for fall, and we will be changing the form. So that will be available in the spring, and that form will never change. So it will be requests forever.
So we should, a lot of constituents have reached out to me regarding this, so they should expect the application to go live in the spring.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding this clear, Barker. So if a tree is planted in front of 100 First Street and if it's the wrong tree planted and it raised the sidewalk, who's responsible for tripping and or maintenance? Who's liable?
Mike will answer that.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a separate issue, not related to this planting contract. But the maintenance of the sidewalk right now is the property owner's responsibility.
But the tree roots risen the sidewalk. That's
Yeah.
a city tree that I didn't oblige to have here, but for this eco-friendly world that we live in, the tree was planted there.
Okay, lawyers.
What you're asking for is a legal conclusion. If you would like to have a closed session to discuss that, you can arrange for that, but they will not be able to answer it.
I guess the easiest part is if someone don't want a tree, to not put the tree there.
They won't.
So maybe to ask a question a different way, we have a list of approved trees currently going back to the forestry standards of 2018. You guys will be seeing a new set, but that's revised in the beginning of 2023. But so maybe talk about the selection of the tree from the nursery that way and how you're adhering to that in addition to what the general public is allowed to select to go in front of their home. Because I think, Frank, maybe to your point, Councilman, you're talking about a developer planting, but they would still be obliged to use the forestry standards in those plantings. So that would be a separate issue if it's a developer planting versus a city. But anyway, go ahead,
Yeah,
you should answer.
for a city planting, I mean, one of the major issues with the sidewalk uplift is that the tree beds are just far too small. We used to plant trees in really tiny tree beds and then the roots uplift, obviously. So making the tree beds larger is, I think, the first thing to consider. And then secondarily, the forester, me, should be making the species call at every given site, depending on site conditions, not necessarily homeowners or anybody else making those kind of decisions.
If a resident do not want a tree in front of their home, do they have to have it? Yes, no, that's all.
Yes, they do. It's a
They
public
still
right of
do.
way.
They still do.
Because it's the public right of way.
That's what he was, I think that's what he
They're
wanted to know.
responsible for it and get an axe and cut it down.
Okay, and then they're responsible. That's what you wanted to know, Frank? If they didn't want a tree in front of their home, who would be responsible for it either way?
You're prioritizing the people that are requesting the tree because we don't want orphan trees. We want, okay.
All righty, we got it clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next one.
The record clear, I don't want no trees on.
He don't want no
Out of
trees in front of his house.
I hear
All
you,
right.
Councilman, and I mean, respectfully, with the amount of requests that we have coming in, I don't think we're gonna get to anytime soon locations where we're getting to people who don't want them. We have many, many requested locations from people all around the city.
Next one.
Next resolution.
Okay, the second resolution is agenda item 10.40, resolution 2285, to authorize renewal of a contract with Schichtel's Nursery, the supply and delivery of trees in the amount of $239,000.
Hey, these and this, no, because I know it's a long agenda, but I have, wait, so this 239 is a separate set of trees than a 510?
The 510 is just to plant the trees. This resolution is to purchase and deliver trees. These
don't have
are the
nobody
actual
in- trees. you don't have nobody in the city that could do
So to a question about that then, knowing that if one company is supplying and another company is planting, what's the check and balance to make sure that the trees from the nursery are good trees going into the ground? So there's that, because that's been another issue with our contracts is the nursery will say, we delivered really good trees. It was a fault of the planting and when it went in. So how are we going to check that?
They're two separate responsibilities. So ultimately, it's the city's responsibility to make sure that the trees are good quality in order to plant high quality trees. Eastern is not involved in that and vice versa.
So the people that sell trees don't deliver trees?
They don't plant them.
Where are
They
you getting
just sell them.
Well, if y'all could take a page at a time, your book and have the two entities work together, so we'll know where I guess the liability resides at. because, I mean, I don't, this is so much going on here with these trees.
I understand your concern, Councilman, and just to more directly answer that question, we're planning on having the team here who's responsible for overseeing the tree plantings and tree care to be going to the site and sort of like selecting.
So they'll be going to the site and tagging all of the trees that are going to be coming to Jersey City.
Okay, that's the plan. We're
All 300.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the Department of Public Works without the director here, because again, I just want to make a distinction that forestry is not under my department. But you know, ideally, I think that's where they want to get to if they have the staffing and the resources to be able to do that. But yeah.
Okay, so then that question should be directed to the forester and the director of Public Works? Okay.
I also want to just add that in our contract, we have the power to reject trees if they get delivered in conditions that we're not happy with. So that's the city's responsibility. And the contractor can ask to have trees rejected if they look at them 10 days beforehand, because they don't want to plant a bad product either, because then that comes back on them. So there is things in place in the contract to reject trees if they're poor quality ahead of time.
Where are the trees coming from? Upstate New York? What part?
Yes. Buffalo.
Buying them from me.
Likes the buffalo trees.
Mark, is there any way?
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Martha.
Okay, thank you. And also, I just want to mention that there's the request for possibly combining the two things or the two contracts working together. So many of you may have seen a few months ago, there was some reporting out comparing the cost of trees and tree plantings between Jersey City and New York City, and how much more New York City is paying for this effort. And a lot of that is because of the fact that the contracts they use are often combined, where they're reliant on one company to do every part of it. And because we have the flexibility to be working with different vendors who are then working together when we get to the actual tree planting, we have some more competitive pricing. The pricing has gone up from last year to this year. It was about $1,000 last year. We were estimating now we're up to $1,600 per tree, but we still have more competitive pricing. So we're just trying to prioritize that in the middle of all of this other coordination. So that's just the last thing I'll say. Okay, and then the last set of items we have is for the Division of Architecture. So I'll call up the director to go through those items. We have 8 of them.
Hey, Miss.
Brian.
Good evening, I'm sorry. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I think we have 7 items on.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just jump right in. Agenda item 10.5, resolution 22-895. This is a resolution authorizing an amendment of an agreement to reimburse JCRA for additional survey services regarding Courthouse Park project.
No, you said 10.5. It doesn't read.
10.50. 10.50.
I am so sorry.
Okay.
50.
I'll say.
50. Yeah, Brian.
Okay. Next resolution, agenda item 10.51, resolution 22-896. It's a resolution authorizing award of professional services contract to Suburban Consulting Engineers, and this is related to City Hall Park development. We did solicit proposals. We received 3, and we ended up settling with Suburban Architects, and the cost is $280,700.
Right.
Okay, questions?
So this is, so they're removing the whole back to put the park there, or is a portion, how does?
Well, it's to be a portion, but that's, yet to be seen. We need to see some concepts from the professional architects about the whole City Hall Park plan. So we haven't seen anything yet, and everybody here will obviously be invited to see the concepts that get developed into the design.
We doing community meetings too?
No, I don't necessarily know about community meetings, but we're going to be having meetings. There will be community. Okay.
Is this where?
Just jump in. Yeah, there will be. There will be a community process once we have a little bit more to present. So you may have seen some illustrations that were made public recently last week. So those are just very conceptual to give people an idea of what the goals of this park are. But no formal sort of design or engineering plans or anything have been developed yet. That is why we are procuring these services from this consultant to go ahead and do that. And then once we have those plans developed, we would, go through a community process.
Barker,
Do we need, Rich? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. Do we need does the park, do we need the park there?
I think it's difficult to answer if we need a park anywhere philosophically. I think this initiative is in alignment with the city's overall goals of sustainability and open space, and sort of a more equitable use of any of the public space in this area. So replacing the hardscape plaza out front and the asphalt in the back of the building, we just think is a better, more equitable use of the space for the public at large.
And maybe again, this is a premature questions, but some of the concerns I have already heard about the park space on both sides of the property, not the front necessarily, but certainly the back, as it relates to deliveries, as it relates to handicap parking, overall parking. I know I can speak for myself. Every week I get a call from somebody that works here at City Hall asking to use my spot if I'm not going to be there that day. And, but also, we have a lot of meetings here in City Hall, and and then how are we going to pay for it? Like honestly, we're asking all departments to cut back 15% for next year's budget. And now we're talking about this new park program. And I am one of the biggest advocates for open space, probably on the city council. And there's just so many concerns about it, in particular with the back, but should this be money we're spending right now?
Understood.
And as opposed to maybe next year when things are a little bit better aligned from a budgetary perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Those are exactly the kinds of questions that this planning and designing and engineering exercise would help to answer. What we built into the RFP was seeking responses that would not require the full parking lot to be removed from the back for obviously those essential services, deliveries to the building, access through the ramp that's in the back for things like that, as well as a limited number of parking spaces, strictly for the use of parking out back, and then paired with a better, more efficient use of the currently available on-street parking supply around the building, whether that looks like a different form of permitting or something else, just to optimize what already exists. So those are exactly the kinds of things that this consultant would help us look at in conjunction with our transportation team to address the parking and access and circulation, with sustainability for green infrastructure, elements of the park, and other, DPW and parks and recreation, to make sure that we're able to allocate resources and staffing to be able to maintain a new park, because, those are all things that come into play. So that's exactly what this exercise is for. And then on the budgeting, in the most recent capital bond ordinance, there was allocation for a city hall for a park in this location. So we're expecting that the funding, if the project were to move forward that quickly, would come out of that.
Barker, anybody that votes for this is crazy on this council. You're taking away the parking spaces. A lot of people don't come to this council meeting or these caucus meetings because they can't find any parking around here.
They don't watch it online either, so. We put it online and then they're not watching it.
But part of the concern is too, though, because aren't we supposed to provide parking for the employees based on some of the contracts with the union? So we have a problem with that now.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to, really see, is this really worth it at this time? I know you guys are probably overwhelmed. I know, Brian, you probably is, because there's just so many projects that's going on. I don't see, this is a priority for us. Can't we just, put it aside for next year and see how we, what happened next year, and see if you guys can tackle it, because you really know our situation, to be honest. I just don't see us keep spending money for somebody else to tell us what we already know. That's it.
Okay, where'd this dream come from? Who thought this up?
I mean, the parking lot is not a nice parking lot. I'm gonna just tell you right now, like it's very hilly. You could trip and die. Like there's a dumpster in the middle of it. Like it's not a very nice space. I mean, if they have plans to improve it somehow, like there will still be parking, but if they can improve it, let them figure out a way to improve it. It's not, it's just really disgusting the way it is right now. So
So you said you ride your bike to work.
So this is, can I,
Go ahead.
I can just say, so, if you had asked me at the start, my list of open space priorities in downtown, this one wasn't at the top. It was at the top for others, which is fine. But what I would say is what the department is asking for is just that we study it, right? Yes, it's some money, but we all voted in favor of putting it in our capital budget a few months ago. So we've already expressed interest in doing that. And they're not coming to us with the full expenditure. They're just asking us to hire the consultants to study it. So I think that's a reasonable ask at this stage. Like I said, prioritization is prioritization, but this is the seat of government, and a park will make it more accessible to people to be able to be in front, to use it for political gatherings. And we do have the option of amending the permit parking rules around here to guarantee that we have spaces for either employees or members of the public. So those are all the options I'll consider. I'm not committed to, supporting any one plan because this is the first time I'm having a substantive conversation about it here with everybody. But, I think just to study it is not an unreasonable ask. Let's see what
But
they
let
come
me ask
back
you
with.
something, with even studying, why didn't we include the front? Because it seemed like it's a lot of open space up front when you come towards City Hall. Why can't we enhance that? I just don't, this back there, I could see us like probably trying to pave the parking lot over or whatever to make it better. But it seemed like we have a lot of wasted space up front. It seemed like we should have had a consultant if we want to spend for a consultant to see how we can make that more open space there. Is a lot of empty space there. Look at it.
Yeah,
Why would we spend money for somebody to tell us what we really do know? You guys know it. The issue back here, you just can't do it. That's why we hired a consultant. So if we're going to hire a consultant, why can't we hire a consultant to look at the front?
So this will be the front plaza, the back, and both sides. It'll be the entire perimeter of City Hall, which we were able to look at. And yes, we did have the option of them only doing the front or only doing some parts of it, but we just wanted a cohesive sort of vision and plan for the entire perimeter. I don't know exactly what will come back. So there is a possibility that maybe not all of it can be done all at once. There may be a phasing, I'm not sure. But these are all of the reasons why we're going into this study, and also trying to just wrap in some of the other initiatives we've had in different pockets throughout the building. We've tested bioswales, rain gardens, things like that in different pockets around City Hall. So this is a way to sort of scale those up and expand them around the entire City Hall plaza.
Can I ask you a question with respect to that? Will your opinion matter to whoever is doing the studies?
That's true.
Question. The reason why I asked that question, we have a ton of road diet throughout downtown. So if you're going to amend the parking lot in the back, are we willing to amend some of the parking spots that we already lost because of these road diets?
I would have to, understand specifically which streets and which parking spaces on those streets you're seeking to gain back as parking. So I just
Montgomery.
can't speak to that at this point.
Montgomery,
I'm sorry?
Montgomery right by City Hall.
So we haven't removed parking spaces on Montgomery right outside.
Are you willing to I said, listen, we have bollards, and I know that's all for pedestrian safety, but we're going to be eliminating some spots in the back of people that normally use that as public parking. So we're going to be asking those people, okay, now you can go into the streets, but we can't park in areas where they're protected because there's bollards and all of that stuff. Are we willing to amend that?
Yeah, I think any plan that we come up with that has to do with this site would also look at any of the streets that are directly adjacent or in the perimeter of the site and how we can optimize them. So that was also included in the RFP, is that we're not requesting a consultant to only come up with a design that's limited to the plaza space, but that it also takes into consideration Montgomery Street, Marin Boulevard, Mercer, and Grove Street, and how all of the access and management of not only the parking spaces, but also the travel lanes, the sidewalk space comes into play as they're designing for this site.
Walker, $280,000 is totally ridiculous. And you know why a lot of people are moving out of this city? Because they can't find parking as it is. And now you're gonna, on the weekends here, the neighbors all park back here in the lot, and you're taking that away. This is the most, I swear to God, this, in 10 years on the council, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I don't know who brought this up. I know it wasn't you, Barker. I'm not picking on you. I'm not picking on you, but wherever this came from, boy, they're out of their minds.
I understand.
Will they come up with an idea of where we can park?
I'm sorry?
Will they come up with an idea where the employees can park?
Yes.
So the space.
And I don't want to get too much into it because we haven't come up with those solutions yet, but what that could look like potentially is permitting the angled parking and the street parking on Mercer, for example, which we added parking to there 2 years ago.
Right.
And almost doubled, as well as Montgomery and nearby streets, so that during the hours when City Hall is operational and when most of the employees are here, that potentially that could be permitted for employee parking specifically, and then it could be residential parking overnight, is a kind of solution that the team would come back with. I'm not saying it's going to be that exactly. And I would just say, you know, you could also argue that on the weekends, a lot of people are coming in from out of town and using the parking lot.
Totally
in
are.
the back to be able to access various things, restaurants and other amenities in the area. And so that's space that could be used by local residents recreationally or as a different kind of space that isn't right now. But I understand the concerns, and we've tried to build in as many of these questions that we anticipated into the RFP so that we can make sure the design consultant can come up with solutions for them. And, you know, we'll remain open to any others that come up related to just use of the space moving forward.
I think the taxpayers should be made aware of the $280,000 and how ridiculous this is.
Yep, this is, you know, public information now.
Quite aware now.
Sorry, just to clarify on the money, it's coming from the capital account that's already been approved, is that right?
So, yeah, exactly. The general parks line item is
Right.
where the funds for this design
Sure.
process.
Okay.
Get your bike, Yusuf.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item.
Okay, next item is agenda item 10.52, resolution 22-897, resolution authorizing an award contract to TK Elevator Corporation for the modernization of elevator at 394 Central Avenue. This is being awarded under an Omnia contract. Cost is $409,000.
How are they exactly going to modernize the elevator?
Well, there have been a number of issues relating to the elevator. So elevators, just like cars, get out of date. There are control systems that become unreliable and possibly could create a life safety issue. And so periodically elevators need to be updated.
Are they putting in a new system? They're gonna do away with the whatever the old system is, and this is gonna be a new system?
No, actually, this is an upgrade to the existing elevator. So they're going to remove all the controls, put new motors, new points, new everything. It's just, it's not a totally brand new elevator like here in City Hall. Yeah.
Okay. Because it looks like okay on the outside. That's why I was like, you know.
There have been a number of issues actually with it. We're sort of trying to be proactive.
I appreciate that. That's the first time the city's done that.
Also, just want to mention along the lines of being proactive, we want to make sure we address anything before the change that we're making with the use of the space with the senior center. So the last thing we want is for there to be issues with the elevator and for us to be bringing seniors into the space and it being stuck or having the kinds of, you know, maintenance related issues that it's had in the past few months is really the main reason that we're doing this.
Got it.
Okay, next item is agenda 10.53, resolution 22-898. This is a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Indiana Furniture Industries for purchase, installation, and delivery of new office furniture here at City Hall and various offices. Cost is $96,247.
Do we know exactly when the new senior center and the satellite offices are going to be complete? Do we have a date on that or no? I know because it seems like it's getting there, but
It is getting there. I know that there are some procurement issues and some long-term items actually we still have to talk about placing an order for kitchen equipment as an example. So things are definitely moving along, but I hesitate to give you a date right now.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item would be 10.54, Resolution 22-899. It's a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Business Furniture for the purchase delivery of new furniture for 394 Central Avenue, which is what we were just talking about.
Yeah, y'all gonna put new elevators, new furniture, new trees, new.
Yeah, raise your taxes.
We just
Right.
might as well use it for something useful.
Well, this will
It's
bring
a senior
project to
center. This
closure.
current senior center is decrepit. It's disgusting. This is
Long overdue.
the upgrade that they need. We have a very heavy senior population in the Heights.
So is this the senior center? Or is
Michael Youn's bread and butter, you know, the late Michael Youn.
it's the senior center? I just want to confirm it's not there. Okay.
Yeah, this is for the senior center.
So the other furniture is different. One is at City Hall and the other one is at the senior center.
They both deserve that place as bad.
Okay. Next agenda item is 10.55, Resolution 22-900. It's a resolution authorizing award of professional services to Epic Management Incorporated in connection with landscape architectural services and engineering services for staff augmentation for various park improvements projects for my division of architecture. Council, this is to help us move some projects along that have kind of stalled due to the lack of being able to acquire additional help in my office over the past year, I think it's safe to say. And so working closely with Barca and the administration, we're trying to find a way to help move these projects along. And this is where we're at. Okay. Next agenda item is 10.56, 22.901. It's a resolution authorizing award of contract to W.E. Wood in New York LLC for the purchase and delivery of installation of furniture systems for the Municipal Services Department of Infrastructure. This is for the new layout to finalize or really come really close to finalizing our new space at the building as we finalize the department. Okay, thank you.
Okay, just 20 more items from me. I'm just kidding. That's all. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Hey.
Shirley?
Good evening, Council President, Council members. I have two resolutions. First one is 10.3 on the agenda, Resol 22-848, and it's a resolution to cancel standing stale dated checks. Bring us, we will be able to put back $660,808.98 back into the current fund.
Questions? Next one, Shirley.
The other one is Agenda 10.4, Resolution 22-848. It is a contract for NW Financial Group for financial services. The contract is not to exceed $300,000. It's a year's contract for with an option to renew next year.
Shirley, I had a question about the stale checks. Is that checks that we receive? Wait, can you explain to me?
Stale dated checks are checks that we issued, and they were sitting on a reconciling item list, so people never cashed them. So after a certain amount of time, we have a right to cancel them out and put the money back into the current fund or whatever fund they came out of. So if you see there's 4 funds here, you have Fund 1, Fund 2. So the Fund 2 is only $1,142.45. Fund 14, 5,500, and Fund 17, $7,985.87.
So we sent the checks out and no one ever cashed them.
Right, so they sit in a reconciling list.
But how confident are we are that they got to the desired destination?
These are from 2018.
Is that from 2018? So I'm
No,
pretty
no,
sure.
I know that, I understand that, but you have to, like, I have a business. Sometimes I actually forget that people owe me money. It's not uncommon. If you're doing mass you're doing a lot of stuff. So it's possible I'm just saying, is there a check and balance mechanism to ensure that if we sent it, that we sent I don't know, a letter, hey, we sent you a check, it haven't been cashed in the last 90 days. Is there any follow-up?
They should have
Because they're from 2018 and 19 and 20, I don't know what the follow-up was because I just got to.
Oh, you just
23.
got here.
Right, so now in 21 and 22, the follow-up is completely different.
So going forward, what are we mandating?
So now we void checks and we follow up. We void checks and replace and reissue. So we'll issue a statement. So if somebody from here is missing a check, we'll contact their division department, say, hey, they haven't cashed the check. Can you
Okay.
follow up, make sure that the address is the same, make sure that something, that they either have to reissue it or void it, but we're doing it on a regular basis. So you'll see the list is a lot less for.
Yes, that's what I just wanted to know, what we're doing in regards. Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you, Shirley.
Okay, happy holidays, and I will never go after
Thank
work
you.
again.
Yeah.
You know what's long. Press that here.
Good evening, Councilman at Large and fellow councilmen. My name is Cynthia Vasquez. I'm the interim Division Director for Injury Prevention, Health and Human Services Department. I'm here to present on item 10.31, Resolution 22-876. This is basically a resolution authorizing a contract with Stay Focused Therapy LLC for domestic violence prevention instruction for our program called Peaceful Families. This person has basically reached the thresholds, and so we're here just to have the contract approved by council. That's the only item.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John, I thought you was here helping out.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
So the first one I have is item number 1010, resolution 22-855. That's a project development agreement for SciTech City. This is still in very early stages. It's a multi-phase project. There's not much that the city needs to do at the moment, but before all the parties start moving on this, this is the agreement to sign and kind of set the pieces in motion.
Can you,
1010.
10.10.
10.10.
So there's been a lot of back and forth with this a while ago. So this amount has to be paid annually. Is there any other municipalities paying annually, or is it just?
It's, at the moment, the payments are being done between the county, the Hudson County Schools of Technology, the Hudson County Improvement Authority, the city, and SciTech City LLC, which is a subcorporation of Liberty Science Center.
But isn't it something like annually? Okay. So it'll be 2 million
Correct.
annually for operating budgets, right?
From the city, yes, yeah.
And I'm asking, being that it's a county school, are there other municipalities paying annually too?
That I don't know. I don't know if that's been discussed yet or not. There's a possibility, but it's like I said, this is very early stage. So
Because, I mean, my concern is if we're gonna be on a hook, and I have no problem paying for education, hence the name educational, but we must be getting the best bang for our buck. I know I wanted to see, a certain amount of seats allocated towards Jersey City, saying that we were given the land and all that other stuff. And now it's a $2 million annual budget of contribution to the operating budgets. So like, we need to see something tangible in return for the disbursement of the $2 million. So that's why that's something, information that we need to be privy to. Because I would be extremely up in arms if Jersey City was the only municipality paying $2 million towards the annual budget. And it's a wide open seat ratio for the entire county.
I can't speak to the seat ratio.
I think, sorry, Councilman, I think that is what is happening, right? I don't think, we are privy to the answer. The answer is Jersey City is the only municipality providing an extra annual contribution. All 12 municipalities, including Jersey City, will pay through the Hudson County tax levy. And there is no commitment to give Jersey City seats. When this came before the council, I believe in 2020 or 2021, there was a vague sort of saying, well, other county schools seat lots of Jersey City kids, which is true, but there is nothing written in stone, and there's nothing preventing a future county school administration from altering the seat mix.
John, do we know what the operating budgets are in total?
No, I don't think that's been projected yet because the other part of this agreement referenced the state aid that we need to get for the school to work with all the parties working together to determine the formula.
When we get to that process, is there a way that you can put some type of clause in there stating that other municipalities should contribute? If they don't, then Jersey City should get a certain percentage of the seats because we are contributing, whereas the other municipalities are not.
Yeah, it's possible. I would discuss, if you're concerned about this now, though, I'd discuss it with the administration now.
Okay, that's what we need to do. Okay, Peter?
Definitely.
All right, because that's our,
Peter's
concern.
not-
It's a legitimate concern.
Absolutely, Council.
We putting up the money and we get this, we understand it, but we want to make sure that we have some secure seats for our children in Jersey City.
Absolutely. I wasn't a part of previous conversations, but I can figure that out and we can get back to you on that.
Yeah, give us a
Thank you.
percentage. Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, the next item is item 1021. That's resolution 22866. That's a business agreement with the Jersey City History Museum. The Jersey City History Museum is leasing the Apple Tree House to, and I keep flubbing on their name, but they're going to be opening it up to the public. Part of the lease required them to enter into a business agreement with us, and this is the version of the business agreement that we've been working on.
Rich, you,
John, were you at the party on Saturday?
I was not.
It was well attended with a lot of people. A lot of people were praising it.
Good to hear.
He said, if you vote for this, you're crazy.
All right.
That's a joke, was That's a joke. Go ahead, John.
Do you have any questions on it?
no.
Okay. The other one is item 1027, resolution 22-872. This is to allow for a cost of living increase to be taken into consideration for the Liberty Humane contract extension. This is something that we discussed back in the summer, and it looks like there was a glitch in the system that kept it from going forward on the actual vote agenda, even though we spoke about it at the caucus meeting. So we're trying to fix that now. We authorized the extension based on the original contract award, but the cost of living had gone up. Obviously, there was a CPI increase. So all this does is allow for the price to be adjusted to match the CPI.
I think there was a glitch for a reason, John.
You know what the CPI was at the time?
Bear with me. I don't have that offhand, but I could get that all. If you want me to shoot you an email before the meeting, I can do that. That's not a problem.
Yes.
It is in the body of the resolution. I just don't have it up in front of me. There's one other that I think there's been a little bit of miscommunication about tonight, which I just want to make sure gets on the agenda for Health and Human Services. There was the one that said was duplicative and got removed. There's a contract award that needs to go on tonight to Wealth LLC. They basically have a food service. It's related to our program for seniors.
For congregate meals.
Peter.
Right.
This was my mistake. I accidentally heard the health director say she wanted to pull it for January. Apparently for contractual reasons, they have to get this through this year or they lose funding for it. So they want to make sure they get it done.
Why would we lose funding? Y'all always say that. Why? The only reason why I understand that because this is something we do every.
I believe it's based on grants. So the way
You
that.
know what I mean? Is this a grant or is this not a grant?
It's based on grant funding.
It's specific to the congregate meals. So it's just to pay for the meals and, you know, the food for the seniors, so that can continue into the next year.
And so when the grant is up.
It's less to do with the grant being up when the
Oh, okay.
contract
Tell
is
me
up.
something. Right. All right.
The
That's-
contract expires, and if we don't get it renewed on this meeting, or I'm sorry, authorized on this meeting, there won't be any food come January 1st.
Let me ask you something. We've been doing business with these people all this time. And if we don't get the contract renewed, because I've seen us come with contracts that we just say, you know, we'll extend it or whatever. Now you're trying to tell me this is a dying need. If we don't do it, then they won't eat. Like we can't communicate with these people.
This is a new
Say
provider.
this will come, we will pay you next month like we do some other people.
This is a new provider. So this went out for RFP and this is the only person that bid on it.
So why do we wait so close to the expiration? Like,
I'm telling you.
yeah, that's bad management.
I agree there's an issue there, but the biggest issue is we want to make sure that seniors get their meals.
They will get them, even if we don't vote. I know they'll get them because you know why? Because we dealt with these people enough. If you tell them that, you know, it didn't get to the agenda, they will know that it'll get there next month. We do this all the time.
Now, was the duplicate, was that meant to be where the duplicate was and somebody
know.
just?
No,
They
that's
know.
what I'm saying. There's been a lot of miscommunication around all of this tonight.
Right.
So, but the thrust of the issue is this contract needs to be awarded or there's not going to be, the provider will be under no duty to provide the meals without a contract. So.
No, I just think we could do better with them. I do. I think there should be a conversation with them to see if they can extend the meals and we let them know that we would definitely sign the contract the 1st of January or whatever. We do it all the time. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think they,
We can explore that, but the problem's not really extending, just a.
Well, exploit at first. Okay, because we do this all the time. And I'm amazed when, you know, you're telling me certain things.
So the other issue is that they're a very small business and may not have the capital to do it.
We've been dealing with them how long? This business here. Do y'all know? I thought this is,
This is a completely new business. So it's about the RFP. Everyone had to bid on it. This was. the
we
only
don't
one
have
that bid.
nothing in front of us about this business. That's why.
We can get it to you before.
You can
Wednesday.
get it to us.
Yeah, so it's in iCompass. It just didn't make the authorization because it was waiting on grant funding, which I believe you guys are voting for on this meeting.
Let me see it.
If you have questions,
Yeah, what, you have something to say?
say if you have questions specifically about them, it's Wealth Kitchen. So I.
Send it to us.
Okay.
Let
So-
me see it. I don't, that's what I'm saying. That's why when you give us something last minute, we can't look at it. And then certain things we vote for, and then later on it come back to bite us, you know, regardless of what.
Absolutely. If it's
So
easier to,
send
I
it
can,
to us.
I can give it to you. I can give you a summary if that makes it easier.
Send it to us.
Yes, Council President.
We're working on it. We'll get it to you by tomorrow.
See, y'all still working on it. I thought it was in the queue. That's what I'm saying. Either you got it or you don't.
Are they working on getting it to the queue?
It's in the,
That's what I'm saying. Y'all said it's done.
Council
You got
President.
lost in the queue. Now you're saying, well, we working on
No,
it.
Council
So,
President, it's in the
Go ahead.
queue. I believe the only thing it was waiting on was a purchase order number to get attached to it. So that's it. But that might have been completed as of today.
Oh,
I don't have that information.
it really didn't get to me on time. It really didn't.
Wasn't me.
Somebody didn't do something.
Just
my
get it
I'm
to
just
us.
trying to
And
get
we'll
people-
see, we're not going to make promises that it's going to be on the agenda, but just get it to us.
Not a problem. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, council members. 10.32, which is a resolution rejecting the 2 bids received for the 911 behavioral health crisis response system. Just very briefly, this is another one where we've been out, we've issued the RFP twice. The first received no bidders. The second received 2 bidders. And the evaluation team unanimously recommended that both bids be rejected as not responsive to the city's needs. If you would like the short version, one, I think there's a general consensus that they underbid and did not demonstrate the capacity to do the work. The other was maybe a bit more robust than we thought was necessary. And as Director McLaughlin indicated earlier, having gone to RFP twice, this allows us to negotiate outside the RFP process, but within the terms established by the RFP.
Can you share with the council the full bids from the 2 bidders?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, they're public record. I'll make sure that you all get them tonight. The shorthand version is one is a company called Med Trust based out of San Antonio, Texas. The other is the Jersey City Medical Center. Maybe I'll attach some of the brief summary, like the top line numbers for each.
And this, Paul, this is from, we approved this, the money for this earlier this year, correct?
You approved the issuance of the RFP.
Yes.
And the RFP did not specify a dollar amount. I know there's been obviously discussions going back over the past 18 months easily involving the community and several of the council members. But we were told in the purchasing process that attaching a dollar amount was not something which was allowed.
The issue is, these services are essential. I mean, I don't know what we advertising, who we're looking at. This is very sad that we're at this juncture, which means we're not going to have this service till, at best, the beginning of next year.
Correct. The RFP established that the services that the vendor would be able to begin services, I think 45 days following the approval of a contract. So yes, there is a further delay. But again, the choice that the review team faced was between the 2 proposals received. And we judged that neither one of them adequately met the city's needs.
Paul,
Different reasons.
I'm curious. So why reject the Jersey City Medical Center?
So I think the Jersey City Medical proposal came in at over $4 million annually. That was for year 1, and that included $550,000 worth of startup costs. And then, a similarly large amount in the subsequent 2 years that they outlined. So I think I'll just say when I forward the proposals, I'll draw your attention to the staffing plan established by both vendors. One, I think, was clearly understaffed for the need. The other, I think the committee felt was represented overstaffing based on the types of calls and the number of calls we expected the vendor to respond to.
And which was that one?
That would be the medical center. The out of town, the Texas-based provider came in with, I think, a very bare bones proposal. The RFP specified that we wanted capacity to respond to 150% of the average daily call volume that the police department identified as calls needing a behavioral health response. That was 7.9 calls per day. So meaning that's the mean, the average over the course of the year. So we would want the provider to have the capacity to respond to 11 to 12 calls per day over 16 hours. And one of the medical center proposal, had a staff which seemed to be in excess of what was required. And again, a very large dollar amount.
So it was one staff?
No. Again, the proposals will contain the details of each proposal's staffing plan. And I'll highlight the page numbers so you can reference those very quickly. Now, of course, if the council provides guidance that the second plan is appropriate, that would allow us to, engage in those negotiations with the vendor that provided that plan.
So what, what do the board think is a reasonable, price margin? Because one is too high and one is too low. And then the contingent question to that is, can we renegotiate with, the medical center saying this is what we have to offer? Did we count?
Having gone through this process and having two RFPs which were unsuccessful, yes, we can negotiate with either respondent or with others as long as we stick to the terms of the original proposal. So, and I think it is certainly our plan to engage in those negotiations. Yeah. You have the power of the purse. If you give us guidance that that's a great plan, that's obviously something that we would take into a very heartfelt consideration.
I'd love to see that information that was sent to the medical center and to the other entity, only because we are in need of this, and the medical center is right here, and they have a behavioral clinic. They're part of the biggest medical associations in the state. So they have an amazing behavioral clinic services, and the fact that they're not willing to negotiate, or we're not willing to negotiate with them, it's a problem.
Councilman, we were not able to negotiate while we were in the RFP process. You're accepting this recommendation to reject the bids is what opens the door to negotiation. And just as a note, the medical center is currently providing a version of this service now through their mobile crisis team. This represents an expansion based on the city and community identified need for more of this civilian-based response to meet the mental health needs of our residents. Thank you and good evening. Oh.
Trillions of dollars.
Good evening, Council President. I'm Tashonda Page from the Jersey City Municipal Court on behalf of Court Director Wendy Rizzo. I'm here this evening on one agenda, item 10.19, Resolution 22-864. For a resolution authorizing the award of a competitive contract to ParaPlus Translations Incorporated for providing interpreter service to the municipal court. The Jersey City Municipal Court is required by the New Jersey Administrative Office of the Courts to provide certified interpreters to interpret legal proceedings during court sessions. Interpreters cannot be shared with other city agencies, as the state would likely regard this as a conflict. The term of the contract is for 1 year, and the amount is not to exceed $80,000.
Does it cover all languages that a
Yes, a
constituent
wide-
might
we're so
request?
diverse in Jersey City, a lot,
Right.
everyone.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, that's it.
John.
Clarifying just one.
No one else out there, right?
No, it's just, again, this has been a glorious day for communication over here. So you guys did vote on the contract extension that took the CPI increase into effect. And just so you have the data on that, for a quarter of the year, the original contract amount was about 142K. Adjusted for inflation, that comes to about 167K. There's an additional extension period for Liberty Humane Society that fell through the cracks somehow. So they performed the work while the RFP was out there. It's a new 3 months extension that needs to be retroactively authorized. So if anyone has any further questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and I think I have them all right now. Thank you.
Okay. All the first readings were covered, so I'm going to go right to the second readings. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 22-050 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to 503-509 Municipal Avenue LLC and its successors and assigns to use approximately 216 square feet over the public right-of-way within 50-foot right-of-way of Arlington Avenue and the 60-foot right-of-way adjacent to Lot 1.01, Block 18703, formerly known as Lots 1 and 2, Block 18703 on the official tax assessment map of the City of Jersey City to maintain an encroaching overhang for construction mixed-use development. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 22-092 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-5, One-Way Streets for Morgan Street.
Clerk for that one.
Bless.
Bless you, sir. I just asked the council to defeat this ordinance, so the traffic team needs to do more study, and instead of just pushing it back for weeks and weeks, meeting after meeting, if we just defeat it, and then the traffic team will complete its study, and it can come back, February, March, when it's ready.
So Councilperson Solomon, I would just make the recommendation on making a motion to move to defeat instead of holding a public hearing, not putting the public or ourselves through that.
Great, thanks.
Welcome. Item 4.3, City Ordinance 22-093 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-5, One-Way Streets for Union Street.
So Sean, for 4.3, I guess we're looking at a compound motion to defeat this one also. There will be maybe other plans coming in future, but turning one-way direction will not be happening at this location at this time.
I think we should actually do them separate only because they're ordinances. It's a little different when we do it with resolutions, but yeah, you can make the motion on this one as well, and we'll move right to defeat the ordinance.
Great, whatever you think is best.
Thank you for your trust. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 22-099 is a bond ordinance providing for the construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, improvement, and repair of various public buildings in the City of Jersey City and the County of Hudson, the State of New Jersey. Appropriation $12 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $11,428,000 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. The last two second readings were touched on earlier. We have currently 6 public speakers that might have changed. I think we're up to 7. Any questions or comments on the petitions communications items 6.1 through 6.14? Office Communications 7.1 and Reported Directors 8.1 through 8.4. Any questions or comments? We have our claims. And on to our resolutions. So I'm going to move from 10.1 through 10.6, we touched on earlier. 10.7, Resolution 22-852, God bless you, is a resolution granting veteran exemptions from local property taxation pursuant to NJSA 54:4.3.30. Item 10.8, Resolution 22-853 is a resolution authorizing the cancellation of 2021 and 2022 real estate taxes on block 1082, lots 36 and 36.1 due to duplicate assessments. Item 10.9, Resolution 22-854 is a resolution recognizing Filipino American History Month. Item 10.11, Resolution 22-856 is a resolution honoring Police Officer Michael Joseph O'Neill on his retirement. Item 10.12, Resolution 22-857 is a resolution calling on the National Park Service to reconsider their proposed plan to restrict helicopter flights over the Statue of Liberty National Monument. God bless. Items 10.13 through 10.15 were touched on earlier. 10.16, Resolution 22-861. I think we got it all right now. This is a resolution fixing the dates and times for the caucuses and regular meetings of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023. Next, item 10.17, Resolution 862 is a resolution reappointing Joyce E. Waterman as member of the Jersey City Planning Board.
If you vote for this now.
Item 10.18, Resolution 22-863 is a resolution authorizing an agreement with the New Jersey Department of Health, Office of Vital Statistics and Registry to allow an employee of Jersey City Office of the City Clerk to work full-time in the Office of the Department of Health where the state vital records are stored. This is a resolution, council members, if you have any questions, I'd be willing to answer them. We put this together because the state is going to stop doing the help that they've been doing with us and basically, holding our hand through the process of issuing birth certificates. This is going to actually place a person directly in their office to assist us with any missing information that we have. And we found that we had numerous gaps in years and we didn't receive everything that we were supposed to receive. So with this person designated in the state office, this will be a direct link for us to access birth records and also any missing marriage or death records that we may have. You have any questions or comments on this? Excellent. Thank you. Items 10.19 through 10.24 were touched on earlier. Item 10.25, Resolution 22-870 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of action entitled Joanna Sanchez versus the City of Jersey City Department of Recreation, Jersey City Department of Parks and Forestry, Game Time, Inc., Lake Court, Inc., docket number HUD-L-425-19.
Sure. And Council President and council members, a confidential memo was sent around. If you have any additional questions, let me know.
Next, items 10.26 through 10.47 were touched on earlier. Item 10.48, Resolution 20, God bless. Resolution 22-893 is a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various motor vehicles at public auction. Items 10.49 through 10.60 were touched on earlier. Item 10.61, Resolution 22-906 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of block 16801, lot 12, 3-5 Storms Avenue for a purchase price of $340,000. Items 10.62 through 10.69 were touched on earlier. Item 10.70, Resolution 22-915 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of grant award from the United States Environmental Protection Agency for the community air quality monitoring for ozone and particulate matter air pollution in Jersey City's unserved communities. Item 10.71 was touched on earlier. Item 10.72, Resolution 22-917 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a deed notice agreement between PPG Industries and the City of Jersey City, and a deed notice for property known as Block 18901, Lot 1.01, also known as Berry Lane Park. Item 10.73, Resolution 22-918 is a resolution authorizing professional service agreement with Strulowitz and Gargiulo and Twin Borough Physical Therapy Associates to provide physical therapy and rehabilitation service for employees injured on the job for the City of Jersey City. Item 10.74, Resolution 22-919 is a resolution ratifying the award of professional service agreement with Lycos and Company Certified Public Accountants to assist in the city in evaluating whether or not the city provided accurate compensation.
So Sean, can I pause there? Could
Sure.
you just explain what this is about?
Sorry, this is for HR purposes, specifically because as a, with payroll, they've done a shift with the Unicorn. There've been certain staff changes. The city just wants to make sure that, we haven't missed anything and that all the accounting is in order and that, we've done our due diligence to make sure in that transition that there's no mistakes.
Are employees alleging that we have underpaid them through the transition?
There's been no specific allegations. This is more just to do the due diligence through the transfer to the Unicorn and all the different services to make sure there has been no mistakes. So they're looking at everything. And it's just because HR doesn't have their own accountants, they need someone to come in and kind of do the bookkeeping for them.
Okay.
Okay, next, item 10.75, Resolution 22-920 is a resolution amending professional service agreement with the law firm Goldenberg, Mackler, Sayer, Mintz, Pfeiffer, Bonchi, I may be mispronouncing it, I'm sorry, Gill, PC to represent the City of Jersey City in various pending foreclosure matters.
Sean, I just want to, Council President and members, I sent an update to Council President this morning regarding this amended professional service agreement. This is for like complex bankruptcies as well as tax foreclosures. And it involves like 3 properties that this firm has been representing the city on behalf.
So can you just repeat that? I had a hard time hearing.
I sent Council President this morning an email regarding an update as to this firm representing the city in these tax foreclosure and bankruptcy matters.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Last but not least, item 10.76, Resolution 22-921 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of professional service agreement with Peruzzi, McDermott, Mastro, Murphy, PC to represent Police Officer Robert Swartzward in the matter of Kelly Chesler versus the City of Jersey City. And if we are adding it, council members, it would be a late item. That was the item that John McKinney was referring to about the senior meals, Wealth Kitchen. That would be item 10.77, Resolution 22-922. That resolution would require your council to add it to the agenda. So with that being
Motion
said,
to adjourn. Second.
I have a motion to adjourn at 7:19 p.m. from Councilperson Rivera. I have a second from Councilperson Saleh. To adjourn at 7:19 p.m. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 7:19 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody in present and everyone watching at home. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. And teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night. Stay safe.